2 lives, 1 lesson chapter 1, 2 different mornings, the city was already awake long before sunrise. Street sweepers pushed carts through empty sidewalks. Delivery trucks unloaded fresh bread behind restaurants. Office lights flickered on one floor at a time as another workday quietly began. High above it all, inside a glass penthouse overlooking the skyline, Damien Ashcroft opened his eyes exactly 1 minute before his alarm sounded. He turned it off before it could ring. The habit had become automatic years ago. Every morning followed the same schedule. Wake at 5, exercise, cold shower. Breakfast prepared by the building's private chef. 30 minutes reading financial reports. Driver waiting downstairs at precisely 6:30. His apartment reflected the same discipline that governed every part of his life. Nothing was out of place. The furniture was modern but practical. Paintings decorated the walls without overwhelming them. The kitchen looked untouched despite costing more than most houses. Damien preferred efficiency over comfort. His wardrobe consisted of nearly identical tailored suits. Choosing clothes wasted time. Time created opportunity. Opportunity created success. Everything else was distraction. While eating breakfast, he reviewed overnight reports on his tablet. Stock prices, international markets, product development timelines, employee performance metrics. He barely looked at the food. His phone buzzed. Sophia Bennett, his executive assistant, he answered immediately. "Good morning." "Morning, Mr. Ashcroft. Your first meeting has been moved from 8 to 7:45. Marcus requested extra time before the investor call. I'll be there. You also have a charity foundation interview this afternoon." I remember. They'll probably ask about economic inequality again. Damien sighed. They always do. I thought I'd warn you. Thank you. She hesitated. They're expecting a softer message. Damien looked out across the city. Clouds drifted between skyscrapers while thousands of people hurried toward work below. I'll give them an honest one. I assumed you would. The call ended. Damien finished his coffee. Honesty mattered. People simply disliked hearing it. The company headquarters occupied an entire city block. Glass towers reflected the morning sunlight while hundreds of employees streamed through revolving doors. As Damien entered the lobby, conversation stopped almost instinctively. People greeted him. "Good morning, sir." "Morning, Mr. Ashcroft." He acknowledged each greeting with a nod but never slowed his pace. Respect was earned through competence, not friendliness. Sophia met him beside the elevator, tablet in one hand, coffee in the other. "You slept. Enough." Marcus already arrived. Of course he did. She walked beside him. "The internship proposal is waiting for your approval. I've already decided. You haven't read it. I don't need to." She remained silent. Damien noticed. "You disagree." "I think some of the applicants deserve a chance." "They deserve nothing." The elevator doors closed. Sophia looked down at her tablet. "They are from disadvantaged neighborhoods, so they had fewer opportunities." Damien folded his arms. "Opportunity exists everywhere." She didn't answer. He continued. "Some people use obstacles as excuses. Others use them as motivation. You believe everyone starts equal? I believe everyone chooses how hard they work." The elevator reached the executive floor. Conversation ended. Work began. Marcus Hale was already waiting inside the conference room. Older than Damien by nearly a decade, Marcus carried himself with the confidence of someone who had spent his life negotiating impossible deals. "Morning. You wanted extra time." Marcus slid several folders across the table. "We're acquiring another software company." Damien opened the documents. "They're struggling." "Exactly. We'll buy them cheap." Marcus smiled. "No sentimentality. That's why we work well together." Damien continued reading. "They'll lay off almost 400 employees." Marcus shrugged. "Business. They'll find other jobs, if they're good enough. Neither man questioned the decision. Numbers mattered. Emotions did not appear on financial statements. By noon, Damien had attended 5 meetings, approved 3 major investments, rejected 12 proposals. Signed contracts worth more money than many people would earn in several lifetimes. Efficiency, precision, results, that was leadership. After lunch, he arrived at the charity interview. The interviewer smiled warmly. "Mr. Ashcroft, thank you for joining us. My schedule allowed it." She laughed politely. "Our topic today is economic mobility." I expected that. The public often wonders why some people escape poverty while others don't. Damien answered without hesitation. Because effort differs. You believe success is primarily personal responsibility? Absolutely. What about illness? Temporary setback. Discrimination? Obstacle. Bad luck? Everyone has bad luck. What about children born into poverty? They still make choices as adults. The interviewer paused. So anyone can become successful? Yes. Without exception, Damien leaned forward. If someone works harder than everyone else, learns continuously, accepts responsibility, and refuses excuses, success follows. And those who fail, they quit. The room became very quiet. The interview ended shortly afterward. Sophia met him outside. "That interview won't be popular." "I wasn't trying to be popular." "I know." She looked toward the crowded streets below. "I just wonder if life is always that simple." Damien followed her gaze. People rushed in every direction. Construction workers, students, office employees, delivery cyclists, homeless men sitting beside expensive stores. "Yes," he said, "it is." Across the city, long before Damien finished his interview, another alarm had failed to ring. The battery had died days earlier. Elias Carter woke instead because sunlight reached his face through cracked blinds. He opened one eye, then the other. The apartment remained silent. Tiny, one room, a narrow bed, a worn sofa, small table, kitchen barely large enough for one person. The refrigerator hummed louder than necessary. He stretched before checking his phone. 3 missed calls. 1 message. Temporary warehouse position filled. Thank you for applying. He stared at the screen for several seconds, then smiled anyway. Maybe next one. He stood. Breakfast consisted of 2 slices of bread, 1 egg, instant coffee. While eating, he opened a notebook filled with handwritten expenses. Rent overdue, electricity due Friday, bus card nearly empty, groceries low. He added another rejected job application to the list, then closed the notebook. No point staring at numbers. He washed his plate, made his bed, opened the window. Fresh air entered immediately. The city looked beautiful despite everything. Someone downstairs argued over parking. Children laughed while walking toward school. A dog barked endlessly. Life continued, so would he? A knock interrupted his thoughts. Mrs. Ramirez stood outside. Apartment owner, small woman, gray hair, serious expression. "Elias. Morning. You know why I'm here." He nodded. "I'm sorry." "I know. I'll have something soon," she sighed. "I've heard that before." "I know." She looked inside the apartment. Everything was clean, nothing luxurious, nothing wasted. "You've been looking?" "Every day." She reached into a shopping bag. "I made too much soup." He smiled. "You didn't." "No." She handed him the container anyway. "But I'll pretend I did." "Thank you. You'll pay rent when you can." "I always do." "I know." She left before he could thank her again. Elias looked down at the warm container. People who had little often shared the most. He never understood why, he simply appreciated it. His phone rang again. Noah, his younger brother. "Hey, you awake?" "Barely." "You eating?" "Of course." "You lying?" "A little." Noah laughed. "I got my exam results. And I passed." "I knew you would." "You still coming Saturday?" "I wouldn't miss it." "You don't have to bring anything." "I'm still bringing dinner." "You can't afford." "I'll figure it out." Silence, then Noah spoke more quietly. "You always do." Elias looked around the apartment, sometimes, not always, but he preferred hope over statistics. "I'll see you Saturday." "See you." The call ended. His wallet contained enough money for one inexpensive lunch, maybe two if he skipped breakfast tomorrow. He shrugged. Future problem. He grabbed his jacket. Another day, another search. He visited construction sites first. No openings, restaurants, no openings, delivery companies, applications accepted, no promises. At one grocery store, an elderly woman struggled to lift several heavy bags. Without thinking, Elias picked them up. "I've got these." "You don't have to, I know." He carried them 3 blocks. She thanked him repeatedly. He refused the money she offered. "I'll earn mine somewhere else." "You remind me of my husband." "I hope that's good." She smiled. "It is." He continued walking, still unemployed, still behind on rent, still uncertain about tomorrow, yet somehow lighter than before. Helping people cost nothing. By evening, the city had begun changing again. Office workers headed home, restaurants filled, traffic slowed. Rain clouds gathered slowly over distant buildings. Damien left another meeting after another profitable day. Elias returned home after another unsuccessful search. One looked across the skyline from the back seat of a luxury sedan. The other waited beneath a bus shelter because he could not justify paying for another ride. Neither noticed the other. Not yet. Above them, dark clouds continued drifting closer. The first drops of rain began falling. Chapter 2, Crossing Paths. Rain arrived faster than anyone expected. Within minutes, sidewalks emptied as umbrellas opened across the city. Cars crawled through traffic with headlights reflecting off wet pavement. Thunder rolled in the distance, growing louder with every passing minute. Damien barely noticed. He sat in the back of his sedan, reviewing a presentation on his tablet while his driver navigated downtown traffic. "We're running behind," Damien said without looking up. "Accident ahead, sir. Take another route." "We already are." Damien sighed. Time wasted irritated him more than almost anything else. His phone buzzed. "Sophia, the investor dinner has been postponed." "Why?" "Storm warning. We're canceling a dinner because of rain." The city issued flood advisories. He glanced outside. People hurried through puddles carrying groceries and backpacks. A cyclist struggled against the wind. "They'll survive." "Probably," Sophia replied, "but people tend to avoid lightning." He ended the call. The driver slowed near a crowded intersection. "Roads blocked." "I'll walk." "It's still several blocks." "I've walked before." The driver nodded. Damien stepped into the rain. Within seconds, expensive leather shoes splashed through dirty water. He disliked every moment of it. Across town, Elias pulled the hood of his old jacket tighter around his head. His last job application of the day had ended exactly like the others. "We'll call you." No one ever did. He checked the coins in his pocket, enough for a bus or enough for dinner. Not both. He smiled to himself. Walking it is. Rain soaked his sleeves almost immediately. He laughed quietly. Could have waited another 10 minutes. As he hurried toward the nearest covered sidewalk, he noticed a young mother struggling with a stroller whose front wheel had become trapped against a broken curb. Without thinking, he ran over. "Need a hand? Please." Together, they lifted the stroller over the curb. "Thank you so much." "No problem." The little girl inside waved. Elias waved back, then continued into the rain, still hungry, still unemployed, still smiling. The city center had become a maze of umbrellas. People bumped into one another while trying to stay dry. Traffic lights reflected across flooded streets. Wind pushed rain sideways. Damien hated crowds. He moved quickly, expecting people to step aside. Most did. One man carrying several boxes did not see him. They collided. The boxes crashed onto the sidewalk. Papers scattered into puddles. "I'm so sorry," the delivery worker said immediately. Damien looked at the soaked documents. "You should watch where you're going." "I was trying. Trying isn't enough." The worker apologized again while gathering papers. Damien continued walking without another word. Several pedestrians watched silently. One shook his head. Damien never noticed. Only a few blocks away, Elias reached the same intersection. A loud horn echoed through the street. A bicycle had slipped on wet pavement. Groceries rolled into the road. Cars stopped abruptly. Without hesitation, Elias ran into traffic. He picked up oranges, bread, and canned food while helping the elderly cyclist to his feet. "You all right?" "I think so." "Can you stand?" The old man nodded. Drivers waited patiently. One woman rolled down her window. "Need an ambulance?" "I'm okay." Within moments, traffic began moving again. The cyclist smiled. "I owe you." "You don't." Elias handed him the last bag. "Get home before this storm gets worse." An hour later, Damien entered a small convenience store to escape another burst of rain. The store was crowded. Everyone waited for the weather to calm. He picked up bottled water and approached the register. Only one cashier worked. The line barely moved. People chatted. Children complained. Someone sneezed. Damien checked his watch every 30 seconds. Finally, the cashier apologized. "Sorry, everyone, register's frozen." A collective groan filled the store. Damien rubbed his forehead. "How long?" "I'm trying to restart it. It should have been maintained." "I'm doing my best." He looked around. No one else seemed particularly upset. They simply waited. He couldn't understand it. Time mattered. Why didn't it matter to everyone else? Several minutes later, the doors opened again. Elias stepped inside, dripping wet. He carried only a loaf of discounted bread. Near the entrance, an elderly man searched his pockets. His expression slowly fell. I must have forgotten my wallet." He quietly placed medicine back on the shelf. Elias watched, then looked at the few bills in his own hand. Rent, dinner, bus fare, medicine. He picked up the box. "I've got it." The old man stared. "No, you don't." "I do. You need your money." "So do you." The cashier smiled softly while completing the purchase. The old man's eyes watered. "I don't even know your name." "Elias. I'll pay you back, if we meet again." The old man nodded. "I hope we do." Elias left carrying only bread. His wallet had become almost empty. He didn't regret it for a second. Damien had watched everything from 3 people back in line. He frowned. Foolish. Generous perhaps, but foolish. You couldn't help everyone. That was exactly why people remained poor. The rain intensified. Power flickered across several city blocks. The convenience store lights briefly went dark before returning. Damien finally paid and stepped outside. His driver called. "Sir, roads are flooding." "I'll walk to the underground station." "That's probably safer." The call ended. Damien started toward the subway entrance. Elias walked the opposite direction. The bread tucked safely beneath his jacket. His phone vibrated. "Noah, you home?" "Not yet. Storm's getting bad." "I noticed." "Come stay at my dorm." "I'll be all right." "You sure?" "I've survived worse weather than this." Thunder answered before Noah could. That didn't sound convincing. Elias laughed. "I'll call when I'm home." A sudden flash lit the entire street. The following thunder shook nearby windows. People screamed. Several ran for cover. Wind tore loose a construction barrier, sending it sliding across the road. A city bus stopped abruptly. Traffic froze. Rain became almost impossible to see through. Damien looked toward the nearest buildings. Everything appeared full. Restaurants, coffee shops, train station, crowded, too crowded. He spotted an older neighborhood beyond the main avenue. There had to be somewhere quieter. He turned. Several streets away, Elias reached the same conclusion. Every bus shelter overflowed with people. Water poured through damaged roofs. Lightning struck somewhere nearby. He spotted an abandoned district ahead. Old buildings, boarded windows. Silence. Maybe somewhere there still had a roof. He ran. The storm grew violent. Branches snapped. Signs rattled. The city seemed to disappear beneath sheets of rain. Neither man knew where the other was. Neither realized they were now only a few streets apart. Damien reached a narrow road he had never noticed before. At its end stood an old stone chapel. Its windows were broken. Its doors hung slightly open. A faded notice was nailed to a fence, scheduled for demolition. "It'll do," he muttered. He hurried toward it. From the opposite end of the same street, Elias finally spotted shelter, an old chapel, abandoned, dark, better than standing in the storm. He pulled his hood tighter and ran toward it from the other side. Rain erased almost everything beyond a few dozen meters. Neither could see the other approaching. Both reached the doorway almost at the same moment. Neither had yet stepped inside. Behind them, lightning flashed once more, brighter than before. The thunder followed almost instantly. The old wooden doors slowly creaked open under the force of the wind. Chapter 3. The mirror. The old chapel had not welcomed visitors in years. Rainwater dripped steadily through holes in the damaged roof. Dust covered every wooden pew. Several stained-glass windows had shattered long ago, leaving only jagged fragments around their frames. The building smelled of damp wood and age. Wind pushed the heavy entrance doors farther open. Damien stepped inside first. He looked around with visible disappointment. This place should have been demolished already. His voice echoed through the empty chapel. A second later, footsteps splashed across the stone floor behind him. Damien turned. Another man had entered. His clothes were soaked. Old jacket, worn shoes, a loaf of bread tucked beneath one arm. Elias nodded politely. "Looks like we had the same idea." Damien simply looked him over. Thin, cheap clothes, exhausted, another man who had clearly made poor decisions. Elias noticed the expensive suit almost immediately. "Quite a storm. It'll pass." "I hope so." Silence returned. The two men chose opposite sides of the chapel. Outside, rain hammered against the roof. Lightning illuminated the broken, stained glass. Neither man had any interest in conversation. Damien checked his phone. No signal. He frowned. Naturally. Elias checked his own phone. 5% battery. No signal. He shrugged. Nothing to do about it. He sat on an old wooden pew and quietly ate part of his loaf of bread. The smell drifted across the chapel. Only then did Damien realize he had skipped dinner. His stomach reminded him. He ignored it. Minutes passed. The storm only became stronger. Wind forced rain through broken windows. Water slowly crept across the cracked stone floor. Elias looked toward Damien. "You want some?" Damien looked up. Elias held out the loaf. "It's fresh enough." Damien almost laughed. "I'm not taking your food. I've got enough. You clearly don't." Elias lowered the bread. "Suit yourself." He continued eating. There was no resentment in his voice, only acceptance. Damien found that strangely irritating. Thunder shook the building. One of the old ceiling beams groaned loudly. Both men instinctively looked upward. "Doubt this place passes inspections," Elias said. "It isn't supposed to." Another loud crack echoed overhead. Dust fell from the ceiling. Damien moved away from the center aisle. Elias did the same. Without realizing it, both ended up standing near the altar. A faded white cloth covered something large behind it. The wind caught one corner. The fabric slipped. Neither man intended to investigate, but curiosity won. Elias reached the object first. "What do you think this is?" Damien answered without much interest. "Probably junk." Elias pulled away the rest of the cloth. Beneath it stood an old bronze mirror, nearly 6 feet tall. Its frame was covered with intricate carvings worn smooth by time. Unlike everything else inside the chapel, the mirror itself remained perfectly clean. No dust, no cracks, no corrosion. Damien frowned. "That's odd." "It is." Elias stepped closer. "I've never seen bronze shine like that. It was probably restored. There isn't even dust on it." Neither reflection looked entirely normal. The storm outside caused flashes of light that rippled strangely across the glass. For a brief moment, each thought the reflection moved slightly later than it should have. Then it appeared normal again. "Old buildings play tricks," Damien said. "Maybe." A loud gust slammed one of the chapel doors shut. Both men jumped. The sudden impact caused the mirror to tilt slightly forward. Instinct took over. Damien reached for one side. Elias grabbed the other. The mirror stopped inches before striking the stone floor. "Careful," Elias said. "I had it." "So did I." Their hands rested against opposite sides of the ancient bronze frame. For a second, neither moved. The air inside the chapel suddenly felt unnaturally still. The rain outside seemed quieter. Even the wind disappeared. Elias looked around. "Did you notice?" A blinding flash exploded through every broken window. Lightning struck somewhere impossibly close. The sound arrived at exactly the same instant. The chapel shook violently. White light swallowed everything. The mirror vibrated beneath their hands. For one impossible heartbeat, neither man could see, or hear, or even feel the floor beneath them. The reflections inside the mirror no longer matched reality. Damien saw himself wearing Elias's old jacket. Elias saw himself dressed in Damien's tailored suit. Then the glass became pure white. A deafening crack split the air. Darkness. Rain continued falling through the night. The chapel stood exactly where it always had. Its damaged roof leaked. Its broken windows rattled. Its old pews remained covered in dust. The mirror was gone. No shattered glass. No bronze frame. Nothing. Only the old white cloth lay crumpled across the floor. The heavy entrance doors slowly drifted open once more. Cold wind swept through the empty building. There was no sign that anyone had ever entered. Morning arrived with clear skies. Sunlight spilled across the city as though the storm had never happened. Traffic resumed. Coffee shops filled. Construction crews returned to work. Life continued. In one small apartment across town, an alarm failed to ring. A man slowly opened his eyes. Everything felt wrong. His mattress was softer. No, harder. His body felt heavier. No, lighter. His head pounded. He rubbed his face. Something felt unfamiliar. He frowned without opening his eyes. My beard? He never had one. He opened his eyes. The ceiling wasn't his. The room wasn't his. He sat upright immediately. What? His voice stopped him cold. That wasn't his voice. He stared at his hands. They were rough, slightly scarred, calloused, older than yesterday. His breathing quickened. No. He stumbled toward the tiny bathroom mirror. The reflection froze him in place. Looking back was Elias Carter. Across the city, inside the penthouse overlooking the skyline, another man woke with the same headache. He blinked several times. Sunlight poured through fluorescent windows, silk sheets, air conditioning, an apartment larger than his entire building. What? He spoke. The voice was deep, calm, confident, not his. His heart began racing. He looked down. His hands, long fingers, expensive watch, perfectly pressed pajamas. He stumbled toward the bedroom mirror. The man staring back wore Damien Ashcroft's face. Elias took one step backward, then another. This, he whispered, has to be a dream. Neither man understood what had happened. Neither had any explanation. Neither realized the other had awakened at the exact same moment. Both stood before unfamiliar mirrors. Both stared into unfamiliar eyes. Both believed the impossible could not possibly be real, yet neither reflection changed. The nightmare had only just begun. Chapter 4, Someone Else's Life. Damien stared into the bathroom mirror. The face staring back belonged to Elias Carter. He stepped backward so quickly that he struck the wall. His breathing became shallow. This was impossible. He closed his eyes, counted to 10, opened them again. Nothing changed. He splashed cold water across his face. The reflection did the same. He pinched his arm. Pain. real pain. He looked around the apartment, the small room from yesterday, the old refrigerator, the cracked window, the worn furniture. Every detail was exactly as he remembered seeing inside the young man's life. Only now he was standing inside it. No, living inside it. He searched every corner of the apartment for an explanation. Nothing. No hidden cameras, no strange machines, no evidence that anyone else had been there. His phone rested on the table. Old, cheap. The battery showed only 4%. He opened the contacts. Noah, Mrs. Ramirez, several temporary employment agencies, no Sophia, no Marcus, no driver, no board members. He immediately searched for his own number. He pressed call. The phone rang across the city. Someone answered. Damien spoke first. "This is Damien Ashcroft." A long silence followed. Then a familiar voice answered. No, an unfamiliar voice carrying his familiar tone. "No, I am Damien Ashcroft." Damien froze. His heart pounded. "Who are you?" The answer came immediately. "I was about to ask you exactly the same thing." Neither spoke for several seconds. Finally, Damien understood. "Elias. It happened to both of us." Across the city, Elias stood inside the penthouse, still staring at Damien's reflection. The phone remained against his ear. He struggled to process what he had just heard. "So, you're really him?" "Yes, how is this possible? I don't know." Neither of them believed what they were saying. Yet both recognized details that nobody else should know: the abandoned chapel, the mirror, the lightning. Every impossible detail matched. Elias sat down slowly on the edge of the enormous bed. "This can't be happening." Damien answered immediately. "It is happening. Meet me." "Where?" "The chapel." "An hour." The call ended. Damien searched through the apartment until he found a clean shirt and a worn jacket. Getting dressed felt strangely difficult. The body responded differently. His balance felt unfamiliar. His movements lacked strength. Even tying old shoes took longer than expected. He looked at himself once more before leaving. Nobody would recognize him. Nobody would believe him. Outside, people passed without giving him a second glance. Yesterday, he had crossed these same streets as one of the city's most recognizable businessmen. Today, he was invisible. Elias experienced the opposite. He found Damien's wardrobe larger than his apartment. Every suit fit perfectly. The watch alone probably cost more than everything Elias owned. He searched for Damien's wallet, credit cards, driver's license, company identification, cash, far more cash than he normally saw in months. He hesitated before taking anything. Eventually, he placed the wallet inside his pocket. If he really occupied Damien's body, people would expect Damien to carry Damien's wallet. The apartment door opened automatically after facial recognition confirmed his identity. Even the building staff greeted him. "Good morning, Mr. Ashcroft." Elias nearly answered with his own name. Instead, he nodded awkwardly. The receptionist noticed. "Everything all right, sir?" "Long night." "Understandable. Stay safe." He walked outside feeling completely overwhelmed. People looked at him differently. They smiled. They stepped aside. Taxi drivers stopped immediately. Doors opened before he reached them. Nothing about the city had changed. Only the face he wore. The abandoned chapel looked even older in daylight. Police tape surrounded part of the property. Apparently, someone had inspected the building after the storm. Neither Damien nor Elias cared. They slipped through an opening in the damaged fence. The chapel remained empty, exactly as before, except for one thing: the mirror was gone, not broken, not stolen. Gone. Elias arrived first. A few minutes later, Damien entered through the opposite doorway. They stopped several meters apart. Seeing another person wearing your own face was deeply unsettling. Neither knew where to look. Damien spoke first. "You look ridiculous." Elias almost laughed. "You don't exactly look comfortable either." Damien ignored the comment. "Find the mirror." They searched every room. The basement, storage closets, behind collapsed pews. Nothing, only dust, broken wood, old bricks. The white cloth still lay on the floor where it had fallen. The mirror had vanished completely. Damien paced across the chapel. Think, there has to be an explanation. Elias remained calm. We don't have one. There must be, maybe, but we don't have it. Damien stopped. You expect me to accept this? No, I expect us to deal with it. Damien rubbed his forehead. I have a company to run. I have board meetings, investors, thousands of employees. Elias answered quietly. I have overdue rent, job interviews, an empty refrigerator. Neither life can simply stop. The words lingered inside the silent chapel. For the first time, Damien truly considered what the other man had just said. Not emotionally, practically. If they remained like this, both lives would collapse. They spent hours attempting everything they could imagine, standing where lightning had struck, touching the altar, searching outside, closing their eyes while holding hands, repeating exactly what had happened. Nothing. By afternoon, exhaustion replaced panic. Elias finally sat on one of the old pews. I think we have to assume this won't be fixed today. Damien hated hearing those words, but he could not argue. What do you suggest? We keep each other's lives running. Absolutely not. Then what's your alternative? Tell everyone magic swapped our bodies? Damien remained silent. Elias continued. You know your business, I know my life. Neither of us wants to destroy what belongs to the other. Damien looked toward the empty place where the mirror had stood. Every instinct told him to reject the idea. Every rational thought reached the same conclusion. There was no better option. Very well. Temporary. Temporary, if either of us finds a way back. We meet here immediately. Agreed. They exchanged phone numbers. Their own numbers. A strange moment neither of them could ignore. Damien stored his own contact under the name Elias. Elias stored his own contact under the name Damien. Both stared at the screens afterward. The situation somehow felt even more absurd. They left the chapel in opposite directions. Damien walked toward Elias's apartment. Every step felt heavier than the last. Elias headed toward Damien's headquarters. His stomach tightened with every passing block. Neither wanted the life waiting ahead. Neither had any choice. Behind them, sunlight shone through the broken windows of the abandoned chapel. Inside, nothing remained except silence. The impossible had happened. Now reality would begin. Chapter 5. Borrowed Worlds. Damien unlocked the apartment door shortly before sunset. Only a single light illuminated the room. The silence felt different now. Yesterday, he had looked at this apartment with detached curiosity. Today, every crack in the wall belonged to his reality. He placed the worn backpack on the table and sat down. His stomach growled. He opened the refrigerator. One container of soup, half a loaf of bread, a few eggs, almost nothing else. He checked the kitchen cabinets. Rice, pasta, instant coffee. He had never thought about how much food cost. It had simply existed. Now every meal represented a decision: eat today or save it for tomorrow. His eyes drifted toward the notebook lying beside the refrigerator, the expense book. He opened it. Rent overdue. Electric bill due in 3 days. Bus card nearly empty. Phone payment due next week. He added the numbers, then added them again. The result did not change. Even if Elias found work immediately, he would still fall behind. Damien frowned. How had anyone survived like this? A knock interrupted his thoughts. Mrs. Ramirez stood outside holding a small watering can. She smiled politely. Good evening, Elias. Damien hesitated. Good evening, she noticed immediately. You look tired. Long day, she nodded knowingly. Any luck with work? He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. No, not today, she sighed. I figured. She handed him a folded envelope. Electric company left this downstairs. Final notice. He accepted it. Thank you. She looked at him for another moment. Don't disappear on me. You always pay eventually. I know things have been difficult. Damien simply nodded. She walked away. He closed the door slowly. Nobody had spoken to him like that in decades. Not with pity, not with concern, only quiet understanding. Meanwhile, Elias entered Damien's headquarters. Every employee greeted him. "Good morning, Mr. Ashcroft." "Morning, sir." "Good to see you." He nodded awkwardly. Each greeting increased his anxiety. The elevator doors opened onto the executive floor. Sophia Bennett waited outside Damien's office. "Good morning, you seem..." She paused, different. Elias forced a calm expression. "Didn't sleep much." "Neither did I." She handed him a tablet. "Board meeting starts in 15 minutes. Agenda's already loaded." He accepted it. "Thank you." She frowned slightly. "You thanked me?" Elias blinked. "Yes, you usually don't." He looked away. Long night. Apparently, the office itself felt unreal. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Shelves filled with awards. Framed photographs with politicians, entrepreneurs, scientists, and world leaders. Everything reflected decades of success. Elias walked slowly around the room. This one office was larger than his apartment building's entire first floor. A framed photograph caught his attention. Damien stood beside his parents. All three wore proud smiles, successful people, confident, comfortable. Another frame showed Damien receiving an international business award. Another showed the company's first headquarters, small, modest, nothing like the tower outside. Elias stopped. So he hadn't inherited everything. He had built something enormous. That realization settled quietly in his mind. Before he could think further, Sophia knocked. They're waiting. The boardroom overlooked the entire financial district. 12 executives sat around a polished table. Marcus Hale occupied the seat nearest Damien. Everyone looked toward Elias. Marcus spoke first. "Morning, morning, you look exhausted." "Storm," Marcus nodded. "Let's get started." The meeting began immediately. Quarterly revenue, market expansion, hiring forecasts, research investments. Numbers filled the screen. Elias listened carefully. He understood very little. Then Marcus turned toward him. "Recommendation?" Every eye in the room shifted. Elias's heartbeat accelerated. He remembered something Damien had said yesterday. Think before speaking. He looked through the report one more time. "How many employees does this expansion affect?" Marcus answered. "About 600. Do we have managers prepared?" "Not yet. Training? Still being organized." Elias nodded slowly. "Then maybe we shouldn't rush." Silence filled the room. Marcus leaned back. "Explain." "If managers aren't ready, expansion creates problems before profit. Better to delay than fix preventable mistakes." Several executives exchanged glances. One quietly nodded. Marcus studied him for several seconds. Reasonable, unexpected, but reasonable. The discussion moved forward. Elias released a silent breath. He had survived, barely. Damien spent the afternoon searching for work. Warehouse. Rejected. Delivery service. No openings. Construction company. Already hired enough workers. Every conversation ended the same way. "We'll keep your application." Nobody asked about his education. Nobody cared about his intelligence. Nobody knew he had built one of the largest technology companies in the country. They saw only a tired young man carrying a worn backpack, nothing more. At the fourth business, the manager barely looked up from his desk. Experience? Temporary labor. References? None that matter here. We'll call. You won't. The manager looked up. "Excuse me? Nothing. Have a good day." He walked away before saying something he would regret. For the first time in years, he had absolutely no influence over the outcome. Near sunset, he stopped at a grocery store. He calculated every purchase. Bread, milk, rice, eggs. He reached for fresh fruit, then looked at the price. He quietly put it back. The cashier scanned the groceries. Total appeared on the screen. Damien counted bills twice before paying. Only after leaving did he realize he had forgotten coffee. He considered going back, then looked at the remaining money. No, coffee could wait. At almost the same moment, Elias stood inside Damien's private dining room. A chef placed dinner before him. Fresh vegetables, perfectly cooked steak, homemade bread, dessert. The chef smiled. "Anything else this evening, sir?" Elias looked at the table. "Enough food for 4 people." "No, thank you." The chef nodded and left. Elias stared at the meal. He remembered counting coins only yesterday. Now someone had prepared dinner without asking what it cost. He ate slowly. Not because he wasn't hungry, because the contrast felt overwhelming. Later that night, Damien called. "How was your day?" Elias answered honestly. "Terrifying. You?" "Educational. Found work?" "No, neither did I." Damien paused. "You?" "Board meeting." "Oh, how bad?" "I don't think anyone noticed." Damien almost smiled. "That's better than expected." Another silence followed. Then Elias asked a question. "How many people work for your company?" "Just over 12,000. Elias looked out across the city lights. 12,000 families depend on your decisions." "Yes, that's..." He searched for the right word. "Heavy." Damien remained quiet for several moments, then answered. "It is." Neither man spoke again for a while. For the first time since the swap, they weren't arguing, only comparing realities. Eventually, the call ended. One returned to a tiny apartment where every expense mattered. The other remained alone inside a penthouse large enough to echo. Both lay awake long after midnight. Both wondered how long they could survive. Chapter 6. First failures. Damien woke before sunrise. His body still remembered Elias's habits. The apartment remained cold. For several moments he forgot where he was. Then he looked around. Peeling paint, tiny kitchen, the stack of unpaid bills. Reality returned immediately. He prepared breakfast. 1 egg, 2 slices of toast, instant coffee, nothing more. Every bite reminded him that food disappeared faster than money arrived. Before leaving, he checked the notebook again. 3 job interviews, 1 temporary labor office, 1 warehouse, 1 moving company. It was enough, or so he hoped. The labor office occupied the 2nd floor of an aging commercial building. Nearly 30 people already waited outside. Construction workers, young graduates, middle-aged parents, older men carrying worn folders filled with resumes. Nobody spoke much. Everyone watched the entrance. When the doors finally opened, people entered quietly. Damien received a number. 27. He sat beside a man who looked close to 60. The man smiled politely. "Busy morning." "It appears so." "Looking for construction?" "Anything." The older man nodded. "Me too. Hard finding work at my age." Damien looked at him. Surely experience counts for something. Sometimes. Mostly companies see gray hair, nothing else. His number was called. "Good luck. You too." The man disappeared into an interview room. 10 minutes later, he walked back out. No expression, just quiet disappointment. Damien already knew the answer. An hour later, his own interview began. The recruiter barely looked up from the computer. Experience? Temporary jobs, heavy lifting, some. Forklift certification? No. Construction license? No. The recruiter typed for several seconds. "We have unloading work. 3 days, pay at end." Damien nodded immediately. "I'll take it. Report tomorrow morning." 6 o'clock. "Wear work clothes." He accepted the paper. For the first time since the swap, something had gone right. Across the city, Elias arrived early. Sophia noticed immediately. "You're 20 minutes ahead of schedule. Is that unusual?" "For you, yes." She handed him a folder. "Press conference at 11. Product review at 1. Investor call at 3. Dinner with international partners tonight." He looked at the schedule. "This is one day?" "Yes, every weekday." He suddenly understood why Damien always looked exhausted. The press conference proved more difficult than the board meeting. Cameras lined the room. Reporters waited with notebooks open. Microphones covered the stage. Marcus stood beside him. "Keep answers short." "Understood." First question: how does the company plan to respond to criticism over recent layoffs? Elias paused. The room became silent. Marcus subtly shifted in his chair. Elias finally answered. Whenever jobs are lost, people are affected before numbers are. We should never forget that. Several reporters immediately looked up. Marcus slowly turned toward him. Another journalist spoke. Are you suggesting previous decisions lacked compassion? No, I'm saying success means more when people succeed with us. Pens began moving rapidly. Cameras flashed. Marcus remained expressionless, but Elias noticed him studying every answer afterward. Damien reported to the warehouse before sunrise. The building stretched across nearly an entire city block. Trucks arrived constantly. Pallets filled every aisle. The supervisor handed him gloves. You ever done unloading? Yes, not really, close enough. Follow him. Damien spent the first hour carrying heavy boxes. His shoulders burned. His hands developed blisters. Sweat soaked through his shirt. He pushed himself harder. Faster, stronger, his body refused. By lunchtime, every muscle ached. A younger worker noticed. First day, obviously, little bit, gets easier. Damien wasn't convinced. The afternoon proved worse. A pallet shifted unexpectedly. Several boxes fell. Nobody was injured, but products scattered across the floor. The supervisor hurried over. Watch what you're doing. It slipped. Everything slips. That's why you stop it. Damien apologized. The supervisor sighed. Slow down. Fast workers who break things cost more than slow workers. The words irritated him. Yesterday people praised his efficiency. Today he struggled to stack boxes correctly. Meanwhile, Elias reviewed engineering proposals inside Damien's office. Most of the technical details exceeded his knowledge. Instead of pretending, he called the department manager. Can you explain this section? The engineer looked surprised. Of course. For nearly 40 minutes, the engineer explained the project. Elias listened carefully, asked questions, took notes. By the end, the engineer smiled. Nobody's ever asked me to explain our work in this much detail. It helps me understand before making decisions. The engineer nodded. I wish more executives worked that way. After he left, Sophia entered. That meeting lasted twice as long as usual. I needed to learn. She smiled slightly. Interesting. The warehouse shift ended shortly after 6. Damien's legs felt like stone. He could barely lift his arms. The supervisor stopped him before he left. Don't come tomorrow. Damien stared at him. Why? You worked hard. Nobody questions that, but you're slowing everyone else down. You'll find something that suits you better. The words landed harder than any physical pain. He had done everything possible. Arrived early, worked without complaint, pushed himself beyond exhaustion. It wasn't enough. He walked out carrying nothing except bus fare. 3 days of work had become one, not because he lacked effort, because his body lacked experience. Rain began again as he waited for the bus. A familiar voice interrupted his thoughts. Rough day? The older man from the labor office stood nearby. Didn't get the job either? Lost it today. The man nodded. Happens. How often? More than I'd like. Then how do you stay calm? The older man smiled. Because getting angry doesn't make tomorrow easier. The bus arrived. The man climbed aboard. See you around. Maybe. Damien watched the bus disappear. The conversation remained with him far longer than expected. Late that evening, Elias returned to the penthouse. The dining table remained untouched. He wasn't hungry. Instead, he stood beside the enormous windows overlooking the city. Lights stretched toward the horizon, beautiful yet strangely lonely. There wasn't another voice anywhere in the apartment. No family photographs on the kitchen counter. No friends visiting. No unexpected phone calls. Just silence. He suddenly remembered something. He searched Damien's phone. Hundreds of business contacts. Thousands of emails. Dozens of scheduled meetings. Almost no personal conversations. He found no messages asking how Damien was feeling, no invitations unrelated to work, no casual conversations, only business. For the first time, Elias wondered whether Damien had anyone he could truly call a friend. Damien returned to the apartment shortly before midnight. Every muscle protested climbing the stairs. He dropped onto the bed without changing clothes. He had believed hard work guaranteed results. Today, he had worked harder than many people ever would, still failed. The realization refused to leave him. He closed his eyes. Sleep came almost instantly. Tomorrow would demand everything again. Chapter 7, Invisible Barriers. Damien woke before dawn. Every muscle hurt. His shoulders ached. His back felt stiff. Even sitting up required effort. Yesterday, he would have scheduled a meeting despite the pain. Today, he wondered how people repeated that kind of work every day for years. He slowly dressed. His wallet contained less money than yesterday. The bus card had almost no credit left. He looked toward the notebook again. Rent, electricity, phone, food, the numbers refused to change. He folded the notebook shut. Looking at it longer would not create money. Outside, the morning air was cold. Damien walked toward another employment office instead of taking the bus. 40 minutes on foot saved enough money for another loaf of bread. He had never measured distance in meals before. The thought bothered him. The employment office was already crowded. A receptionist handed him another form. Fill this out. He read every line: employment history, references, transportation, availability, skills. He completed everything carefully. The receptionist glanced over it. Will contact you. When? If something opens. Approximately when? No idea. Can I speak with someone? No. She accepted the form and called the next person. The conversation lasted less than a minute. He walked outside carrying nothing except another promise. Across the city, Elias entered another executive meeting. Charts covered the large display. Marcus stood near the screen. We're reviewing next year's budget. The finance director presented projections, revenue growth, hiring forecasts, operating costs. Then another slide appeared, cost reduction plan. Marcus spoke calmly. Closing 2 regional offices saves nearly $20 million annually. Another executive nodded. Efficient. Elias looked through the documents. How many employees? 312. Relocation possible? Some. Most positions eliminated. The room became quiet. Marcus looked toward him. Thoughts? Elias chose his words carefully. Before closing offices, I'd like to understand why they are underperforming. Marcus answered immediately, because they're inefficient or because they lack resources. Silence. Marcus crossed his arms. Resources cost money. Replacing trained employees also costs money. Several executives exchanged glances. Marcus noticed, you're becoming cautious. I'm trying to become informed. The discussion continued. No decision was made. For the first time, Marcus left a meeting without getting immediate approval. Damien stopped at a supermarket. Not to shop, to compare prices. Rice, bread, milk, eggs, cooking oil. He quietly calculated several different combinations. A young employee approached. Can I help you? No, just deciding. The employee smiled politely before walking away. Damien stood there another minute, then quietly placed the milk back on the shelf. Bread mattered more. Outside the store, he noticed a man sitting near the entrance. Gray beard, old coat, paper cup. People walked around him without looking. Some deliberately looked away. The man quietly thanked everyone who dropped a coin into the cup. Most passed without slowing down. Damien almost continued walking, then stopped. Yesterday, he would have assumed laziness. Today, he wasn't certain. He reached into his pocket. Only enough money remained for groceries. He hesitated. The old man noticed. Keep it. You need it more. Damien looked surprised. The man smiled faintly. I can tell you're counting every coin before spending it. Damien slowly lowered his hand. How did you know? You stared at prices for 10 minutes. People with money don't do that. Damien stood there silently. The old man looked toward the busy street. Funny thing, most people think they can recognize poverty. Truth is, he tapped his own chest. Most never see it until they're living it. Damien continued walking. Those words stayed with him the entire afternoon. Meanwhile, Elias toured one of the company's development departments. Engineers worked quietly between rows of computers. Designers discussed prototypes. Programmers filled whiteboards with diagrams. A young developer accidentally dropped a laptop while standing up. The room fell silent. The employee immediately apologized. "I'm so sorry. I'll file an incident report." He looked terrified. Elias walked over. "Anyone hurt?" "No." "Then let's inspect the laptop before worrying." The technician checked it. Only a scratched corner. "Still works." The employee exhaled. "Thank you." After the tour ended, Sophia quietly approached. Normally, she hesitated. Normally what? People expect to be yelled at. For dropping a laptop, it has happened before. Elias frowned. Mistakes happen. Patterns matter more than accidents. Sophia looked at him thoughtfully. "You're saying that differently than usual." "Am I?" "Yes," she didn't continue, but another question quietly formed in her mind. Late that afternoon, Damien finally received a phone call. A cleaning company needed temporary workers unloading supplies. Only one afternoon. Cash payment, he accepted immediately. The warehouse stood across town. Getting there required 2 buses. He looked at the remaining balance on his transit card. Not enough. He considered walking nearly 3 hours. He checked the time. Impossible. A decision had to be made. He bought additional bus credit. The job paid just enough to recover the expense if nothing went wrong. The supervisor greeted him at the loading dock. "You worked logistics before?" "Briefly." "Good enough. Unload cleaning products. Don't damage anything." The work was easier than yesterday. Lighter boxes, shorter shifts. By evening, the truck was empty. The supervisor counted several bills into Damien's hand. "Good work. Need people again next week." Relief spread across Damien's face. "Thank you. It wasn't much money, but it was honest. Earned." For the first time since the swap, he walked home carrying income instead of disappointment. At the penthouse, Elias ate dinner alone again. The apartment remained silent. He opened Damien's calendar. Meetings filled every weekday. Business dinners. Investor calls. International travel. Not a single birthday. Not a single family gathering. Not one dinner with friends. His phone vibrated. "Marcus. Dinner tomorrow. Need to discuss your recent decisions." Elias answered. "I'll be there." The call ended. He stared out across the city again. Thousands of lights. Millions of people. Yet this apartment somehow felt emptier than Elias's tiny home. That night, Damien counted his earnings on the kitchen table. After groceries, after bus fare, after setting aside part of the rent, almost nothing remained. He leaned back in the chair. Yesterday, he would have called that poor financial planning. Today, he understood. There simply wasn't enough money. No spreadsheet could solve arithmetic. He turned off the light and lay down. For the first time in his life, he understood that poverty was not always created by bad choices. Sometimes, it was created because every available choice was bad. Chapter 8, those who still give Saturday arrived with clear skies. Damien woke to the sound of his phone vibrating. Noah, he had nearly forgotten. Today, the college visit, he answered. "Morning, morning, you still coming?" "Yes, good, I thought you might have found work." "Not today, meet me at noon, I'll be there." The call ended. Damien looked at the nearly empty refrigerator. 1 egg, half a loaf of bread, a small container of soup. He ate half the bread and saved the rest for dinner. Every habit from his previous life urged him to eat a proper meal before leaving. Reality disagreed. The bus ride took nearly an hour. Students filled most of the seats. Many laughed, others slept. Some studied quietly. Noah waited outside the campus entrance. The moment he saw Damien, he smiled. "You made it. I said I would." They shook hands. Then Noah frowned. "You look exhausted. Long week." "Mine too. Exams, exams." They walked across the campus together. Students hurried between buildings carrying books and backpacks. The atmosphere felt hopeful, alive. Noah spoke with excitement. "I think I finally know what I want to do after graduation." Damien listened. "Engineering, renewable energy, infrastructure, research." The young man spoke with genuine passion. Damien noticed something else. Every few minutes Noah looked at him, checking, making sure his brother was all right. Someone depended on Elias, not financially, emotionally. That realization surprised him. They stopped at a small cafeteria. Noah ordered lunch. Damien quietly checked the money in his wallet, enough for himself. Barely, Noah noticed. "I can pay today." "No, it's all right. You paid last time." That wasn't an answer. Damien hesitated, then accepted. "Thank you." Noah smiled. "You'll get me next time." Damien lowered his eyes. He hoped so. After lunch, they walked toward the library. Near the entrance, several volunteers were setting up folding tables. A handwritten sign read, "Community Food Drive." One of the volunteers recognized Noah. "Hey, glad you came. Need another pair of hands?" "Always." Noah looked toward Damien. "Mind helping?" Damien almost refused. He had planned to search for work afterward. Then he looked at the boxes. Families arrived carrying canned food. Children helped stack supplies. College students organized donations. Nobody appeared wealthy. Many looked like they had very little themselves, yet they kept bringing food. He nodded. "All right." For 3 hours, Damien carried boxes, sorted donations, helped elderly visitors load groceries into their cars. A young woman thanked him repeatedly after he carried several heavy bags. An older man apologized because he could donate only a few cans. The volunteers thanked him anyway. Every contribution mattered. Damien watched quietly. Nobody asked who deserved help. Nobody demanded proof of effort. Nobody delivered lectures about personal responsibility. They simply helped. As the event ended, one volunteer opened several pizza boxes. "Everyone gather around. There's enough for everybody." Damien stepped back. "I'm fine." The volunteer laughed. "There's plenty. Take some." He accepted one slice. Then another. Noah smiled. "See? Free food tastes better with company." Damien looked around. Students laughed while cleaning tables. Children chased one another across the grass. Volunteers packed remaining donations into a truck. Nobody expected anything in return. The feeling unsettled him, not because it seemed wrong, because it seemed natural. Across the city, Elias attended a charity gala representing Damien's company. Crystal chandeliers reflected across polished floors. Servers carried silver trays between guests dressed in expensive suits and elegant gowns. Every conversation sounded carefully rehearsed. "Congratulations on the quarterly numbers." "Thank you. Wonderful acquisition. Appreciated. Excellent speech last week. Very kind." The words blended together. A man approached holding a glass of wine. "Victor Langley, investment banker." He smiled broadly. "Damien, good to see you." "Likewise." Victor leaned closer. "Still planning to close those regional offices?" "Nothing's been decided." "Interesting." Marcus seemed confident. "We're reviewing everything first." Victor laughed. "You've become cautious. Responsible. Same thing if you're losing money." He walked away before Elias answered. The conversation left an unpleasant feeling. Later, another guest approached. A woman in an elegant blue dress. She smiled warmly. "It's been months. You finally accepted one of these invitations." Elias searched Damien's memory. "Nothing." She noticed immediately. "You don't remember me." "I'm sorry. Olivia Mercer. We met during the Innovation Summit in Zurich." "Of course." She smiled politely. "You don't remember?" "Not very well. That's all right. You spent most of the evening answering business calls anyway. She glanced around the ballroom. You've always looked uncomfortable at these events. Elias looked across the room. People laughed, networked, negotiated. Some conversations were genuine, many were not. He understood what she meant. Marcus eventually joined him near one of the windows. Different crowd than your boardroom. Very. Marcus looked across the ballroom. Everyone here wants something. Investment, influence, information, sometimes all three. You trust any of them? A few. I'm still deciding. Marcus studied him. You've changed. Storm gave me time to think. Marcus nodded slowly. Thinking's dangerous in business. Sometimes not. Marcus laughed quietly. First genuine laugh Elias had heard from him. Maybe. That evening, Damien returned to the apartment carrying leftovers from the volunteer event. One unopened pizza box remained. The organizers insisted everyone take food home. He placed it carefully inside the refrigerator, enough for tomorrow. As he closed the door, someone knocked. Mrs. Ramirez, evening, Elias. Good evening. She noticed the pizza box. Looks like somebody fed you. Community event. Good people. She smiled. Most are. She held out a small envelope. Your electricity payment. Damien's expression changed. I haven't paid it. I know, someone did. He stared at the receipt. Paid in full. No name, anonymous. There must be some mistake. No mistake. They paid 3 apartments. Yours included. She smiled softly. Whoever it was, they wanted nobody to know. She walked away. Damien stood motionless. Someone had spent money helping complete strangers, without recognition, without publicity, without expecting repayment. He looked at the receipt for a long time, then carefully folded it and placed it inside the notebook with the bills. Not because of the money, because he never wanted to forget the feeling. Late that night, Damien called Elias. How was your day? Expensive. Damien almost smiled. Mine was free. Free, food drive, community volunteers. Elias laughed. They're good people. They are. A brief silence followed. Then Damien asked something unexpected. Did you know many of them probably couldn't afford to donate? Yes. Why do they do it? Because they know what it feels like to need help. Damien didn't answer immediately. He looked again at the paid electricity bill. Maybe, he said quietly. I've misunderstood people for a very long time. Elias remained silent. He knew those words had not come easily. Chapter 9. Respect earned Monday arrived sooner than either of them wanted. The weekend had offered a brief escape. Now both returned to borrowed lives. Damien received another temporary assignment. A furniture distribution center needed workers for the week. The pay was modest. The hours were long. He accepted immediately. This time he arrived 30 minutes early, not because he expected praise, because he needed the job. The supervisor, a broad-shouldered man named Greg, looked over the paperwork. Worked in a warehouse before? Briefly. Greg smiled. Briefly usually means one day. It did. At least you're honest. Come on, I'll show you around. Unlike the previous warehouse, nobody expected him to know everything immediately. Greg demonstrated how to lift awkward furniture without straining his back, how to stack boxes safely, how to move quickly without wasting energy. Watch first. Speed comes later. Damien listened carefully. He followed every instruction. For the first time since the swap, someone invested time teaching him instead of expecting immediate results. The morning passed without incident. Near lunch, another worker dropped one end of a heavy cabinet. The cabinet struck the floor with a loud crack. Everyone looked over. The younger employee froze. I'm sorry. Greg inspected the damage. Small dent, nothing serious. The young worker looked ready to quit. Greg simply nodded. Now you'll remember to keep your grip higher. Everyone makes that mistake once, only once. The tension disappeared immediately. Work resumed. Damien watched quietly. His previous companies often demanded perfection. Here, mistakes became lessons, provided people learned. During lunch, Damien sat alone. A woman carrying a lunchbox approached. "Mind if I sit? Go ahead." She introduced herself. Linda, single mother, 2 children, worked there nearly 8 years. Conversation came naturally. "You knew?" "Yes, how long have you been looking?" "Several weeks." "Rough, it has been." She opened her lunchbox. Homemade sandwiches. She noticed him staring at his own meal. "Only bread, forgot breakfast," something like that. Without hesitation, she handed him half a sandwich. "Take it." "I can't." "Sure you can. I'll make another tomorrow." He hesitated, then accepted. "Thank you." She shrugged. "Someone helped me when I started. Now it's my turn." Damien quietly ate. Another act of generosity. Another person with little choosing to share. Across town, Elias prepared for another board meeting. This time he felt less intimidated, not comfortable, simply less afraid. Marcus entered carrying several folders. "We've got a problem." "What happened?" "A competitor released a similar product ahead of schedule." "How bad?" Marcus spread several reports across the table. "Investors are nervous. Marketing wants an aggressive response. Legal wants to investigate patent violations. Engineering wants more time. Everyone wants something." Marcus nodded. "Welcome to leadership." The meeting lasted nearly 3 hours. Arguments filled the room. Launch immediately. Delay, sue them, ignore them. Increase advertising. Reduce pricing. Every executive defended a different solution. Marcus eventually looked toward Elias. Final decision? Elias remained silent for several moments. Then he spoke calmly. "Has anyone asked our customers what they actually want?" The room became quiet. Marcus blinked. "What? We've discussed competitors for 3 hours. Have we spoken to our users?" Silence. One marketing executive slowly answered. "Not yet." "Then start there. If we solve the wrong problem, none of these plans matter." The room remained quiet. Marcus slowly leaned back in his chair. Interesting. The meeting ended with a customer research initiative instead of an immediate reaction. Several department heads left looking relieved. Others looked confused. Marcus looked thoughtful. Sophia caught up with Elias afterward. "That was different." "Good different? I think so." She hesitated. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "When did you start listening this much?" "Listening? You used to enter meetings with answers. Now you enter with questions." Elias smiled faintly. "Answers are easier after good questions." Sophia looked at him for several seconds, then nodded. "I wish the old Damien had figured that out years ago." The words lingered after she left. The furniture warehouse became busier every day. By Wednesday, Damien's body had begun adapting. He still grew tired, his shoulders still ached, but he moved more naturally. Greg noticed. "Faster today. Learning, good. Keep learning, you'll last." Those simple words meant more than Damien expected. He had spent years evaluating other people. Now someone else evaluated him. Approval felt surprisingly satisfying. Late that afternoon, a delivery truck arrived behind schedule. The crew worked quickly to unload it before closing. One pallet shifted unexpectedly. Several large boxes slid toward Linda. She never saw them. Damien reacted instinctively. He shoved her aside. The boxes crashed onto the concrete where she had been standing. Everyone rushed over. "You all right?" Linda nodded, shaken. Greg looked at Damien. "Nice catch." Damien looked at the scattered boxes. "Anyone hurt?" "No." "Then we're fine." Linda quietly touched his shoulder. "Thank you." He simply nodded, no speech, no heroics, just relief. That evening, Greg stopped him before he left. "You available next month?" Damien looked surprised. "For what?" "Permanent opening. Nothing guaranteed, but I'd recommend you." He stared at the supervisor. "Why?" "Because you work hard, you learn, you help people. Skills can be taught, characters harder." Damien walked home thinking about those words. A week ago, he would have hired based almost entirely on experience. Greg had looked beyond experience. He had looked at potential. Meanwhile, Elias sat alone in Damien's office after everyone else had left. The city glowed outside the windows. He reviewed employee records, performance reviews, promotion histories, training programs. One report caught his attention: internal promotion rate, far lower than expected. He read further. Many entry-level employees never advanced despite strong evaluations. He made several notes. Opportunity shouldn't depend only on where someone starts. The sentence came naturally. He looked at it for a long moment, then smiled. Perhaps Damien would have written something very different only weeks earlier. That night, the two men spoke again. "How was work?" Damien answered first. "Better. You sound surprised." "I am. Someone offered to recommend me for a permanent position." "Congratulations." "Thank you." A short silence followed. Then Damien asked, "How about you?" "Long meeting, many opinions, any progress?" "Maybe. I'm beginning to understand why your decisions take time. Everyone expects certainty, even when certainty doesn't exist." Damien nodded, though Elias could not see it. "That's leadership." Elias answered quietly. "And your life? It's teaching me something too." "What's that?" "Hard work matters, but sometimes someone first has to give you a chance to prove you can work hard." Damien heard no reply, only silence. Not uncomfortable, reflective. Finally, Elias spoke. "I think we're both starting to understand each other." Neither argued. For the first time, both agreed completely. Chapter 10. Quiet changes. Nearly a month had passed since the storm. Neither man had found the mirror. Neither had discovered another abandoned chapel, another lightning strike, or another explanation. Life no longer felt like a nightmare. It felt like reality, a borrowed reality. Damien settled into the rhythm of warehouse work. His body had changed. His hands had become rough. The blisters had hardened into calluses. He still returned home exhausted, but exhaustion no longer surprised him. Greg kept his promise. A permanent position became available. The interview lasted less than 10 minutes. Greg asked only one question. "Still interested?" "Yes." "Then welcome aboard." Damien accepted the handshake. For the first time since waking in Elias's body, he had stable employment. The salary remained modest. It would not solve every problem, but it meant next month's rent could be paid. The relief was impossible to describe. On his lunch break, Damien noticed a familiar scene. A new employee sat alone. Young, nervous, barely touching his food. Several older workers laughed nearby, not cruelly, simply talking among themselves. The young man looked isolated. Damien walked over. "First week?" The young man nodded. "Is it obvious? It was for me too." He sat down. The conversation lasted only 15 minutes. Lifting techniques, safety rules, Greg's habits, the best place to buy inexpensive work gloves. By the end of lunch, the young worker smiled. "Thanks, you made today easier." Damien nodded. Someone had done the same for him. Without realizing it, he had repeated Greg's kindness. Across the city, Elias continued leading Damien's company. Employees had started noticing small differences. The executive elevator no longer closed immediately when someone approached. Damien waited. He greeted receptionists by name. He visited departments without announcing inspections. He asked engineers what they needed instead of only asking for deadlines. Tiny changes, yet people noticed. Sophia noticed most of all. One afternoon, she entered Damien's office carrying several folders. Before she spoke, Elias looked up. "You look tired." She blinked. "Excuse me, you've been working late." She laughed quietly. "You've never noticed before." "Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention." She placed the folders on his desk. For a moment, she simply stood there. Then she spoke. "Can I ask something personal?" "Go ahead. Are you?" "All right." Elias hesitated. "Better question. How should Damien answer?" "I've been thinking a lot lately." "About what?" "People." Sophia smiled faintly. "That's definitely new." Later that afternoon, Elias requested something unusual. He asked human resources for anonymous employee surveys, not performance reviews. Personal concerns, financial stress, career goals, training requests. The HR director looked surprised. We've collected these for years. Has anyone read all of them? Not. Really? Bring them to me. There were hundreds. He spent hours reading. One employee worried about paying medical bills. Another wanted additional training but couldn't afford tuition. A single father struggled with childcare during night shifts. A talented programmer considered leaving because she saw no path to promotion. Numbers became names. Names became lives. He closed the final folder long after sunset. Thousands of people worked for the company. Each carried a story no spreadsheet could show. That evening, Damien visited Noah. Nothing special had been planned, just dinner. This time Damien paid. Simple food, nothing expensive. But he paid. Noah smiled when the bill arrived. Told you you'd get me next time. I did. Barely. They laughed together. Halfway through dinner, Noah became serious. You've changed. Damien looked up. How? Hard to explain. You still worry about everyone else. But you listen more. You don't rush to solve everything. You just understand. Damien remained quiet, if only Noah knew why. The following morning, Marcus entered Damien's office without knocking. Need a minute, of course. Marcus closed the door. Investors are asking questions. About you, Elias waited. You've canceled 2 acquisitions, delayed 1 restructuring, approved additional employee training, requested internal promotion reports. Marcus folded his arms. What's your plan? Long-term stability. Marcus frowned. Sounds expensive. High turnover's expensive too. Marcus remained silent, then he smiled slightly. You've become harder to predict. Maybe I've become easier to understand. Marcus laughed, not even close. Meanwhile, Damien found himself studying warehouse operations, not because anyone asked, because he couldn't stop thinking like a CEO. He noticed unnecessary walking routes, poor inventory placement, repeated delays during unloading. One afternoon, he approached Greg. Mind if I show you something? Greg looked curious. Go ahead. Damien sketched a new storage layout on a piece of cardboard. Incoming deliveries here. Frequently shipped items closer to loading docks. Less walking, faster loading. Greg studied the drawing. You worked logistics before, not exactly. Interesting idea. The warehouse manager reviewed it the following week. 2 months later, the new layout was implemented. Loading times dropped noticeably. Greg found Damien during lunch. Manager liked your idea. Apparently saved more time than expected. Damien smiled, glad it helped. Greg looked at him thoughtfully. You ever think about management? Sometimes. You'd probably be good at it. The words lingered long after the conversation ended. Even in another life, the skills remained. That evening, Elias received another invitation. Private dinner. Only Marcus and 2 major investors. The discussion remained polite until dessert. One investor leaned forward. Damien, we're concerned about what? You're becoming sentimental. Marcus watched quietly. The investor continued. Training programs, delayed layoffs, additional employee support. Shareholders expect returns. Elias answered calmly. Healthy companies need healthy employees. Another investor shrugged. Employees are replaceable. Elias looked directly at him. People aren't. The table became silent. Marcus said nothing. But for the first time, he didn't defend the investors either. Late that night, Damien called. Busy day? Always. You? Warehouse changed its layout. Because of you? Maybe. Congratulations. Thank you. A brief silence followed. Then Elias spoke. I think I understand something now. What? Your company didn't become successful by accident. Damien smiled faintly. No, it didn't. Another pause. Then Damien answered. And your life didn't survive by accident either. That surprised Elias. What do you mean? You built relationships. People trust you. They help you because you've helped them. That's not luck. That's something you earned. Neither spoke for several moments. Respect had quietly replaced resentment. Neither wanted the other's life, but both had stopped believing it was easy. Chapter 11, What Matters Most. Autumn arrived quietly. The mornings grew colder. Leaves collected along sidewalks before city workers swept them away. Nearly 3 months had passed since the storm. The impossible had become routine. Neither Damien nor Elias expected to wake up in their own body anymore. They simply lived. Damien finished his warehouse shift just after 4 in the afternoon. As he changed clothes, his phone rang. Noah, he answered immediately. "What's wrong?" Noah sounded out of breath. "It's Mrs. Ramirez. She called me." "My apartment?" "No." She wouldn't explain over the phone. "Just come." Damien left without another question. Mrs. Ramirez stood outside the apartment building when he arrived. An ambulance waited nearby. 2 paramedics loaded an elderly man into the back. Damien recognized him immediately. Mr. Wilson, the quiet widower from the apartment across the hall. He had spoken to him only twice. "Heart attack," Mrs. Ramirez answered before he asked. "Is he alive?" "Barely. His daughter lives 3 hours away." She looked toward the ambulance. He would have died if Noah hadn't found him. Damien turned. Noah stood near the entrance, still breathing heavily. "I heard him fall. He looked embarrassed. Door was unlocked. I called emergency services." Damien placed a hand on his shoulder. "You saved his life." Noah shrugged. "Anyone would have." Damien looked around. "Not everyone." Later that evening, Mrs. Ramirez gathered several tenants in the hallway. Mr. Wilson would need help after leaving the hospital. Meals, groceries, transportation, medication. Before she could ask for volunteers, hands began rising. "I'll drive him. I can cook. I work nights. I'm free during mornings. My grandson can mow his lawn." One offer followed another. Nobody discussed payment. Nobody asked what they would receive. The apartment building was filled with people who constantly struggled, yet somehow they always found something to give. Damien volunteered as well, whatever's needed. Mrs. Ramirez smiled. "I knew you would." The following morning, Elias faced a different emergency. Sophia entered his office without knocking. "There's been an accident." He stood immediately. "What happened?" "One of our manufacturing facilities. Equipment failure. 3 workers injured. None critical. Thank God. Marcus already arranged transportation. We're leaving in 10 minutes. The factory stood nearly 2 hours outside the city. Production had stopped. Emergency crews still inspected the damaged equipment. Employees gathered quietly in small groups. Many looked frightened. Marcus spoke first. "Media already knows. Legal's preparing statements. Insurance investigators arrived this afternoon." Elias listened, then asked a different question. "Where are the injured workers?" "Hospital." "Let's go there first." Marcus looked surprised. "Factory needs leadership." "So do they." Marcus didn't argue. The hospital room held 3 employees. One had a broken arm. Another suffered burns to his hands. The third remained asleep after surgery. When Elias entered, conversation stopped. Mr. Ashcroft, the man with the broken arm, looked confused. "You came, of course." The worker looked toward Marcus. "Usually," he hesitated. "Usually executives don't." Elias pulled up a chair. "How's your family?" "My wife's on her way." "Children?" 2. "Who's watching them?" "My sister." "Good." He spent nearly an hour speaking with all 3 workers. Not about production, not about deadlines, about recovery, families, medical care. Before leaving, he turned toward Sophia. "Make sure every expense related to treatment is covered, already covered by insurance. Everything else too. Transportation, meals, anything they need." Sophia nodded. "I'll arrange it." The workers stared in disbelief. Back at headquarters, Marcus closed the office door. That wasn't cheap. "No." "Necessary?" "Yes." Marcus walked toward the window. "Do you know why I partnered with you 20 years ago?" "Because I was good at business." because you made difficult decisions without hesitation. He turned around. Now you're making different ones. Am I making worse ones? Marcus remained silent longer than usual. Finally, he answered, I honestly don't know anymore. Several days later, Damien visited Mr. Wilson after work. The elderly man now walked slowly with a cane, recovered enough to return home, not enough to manage alone. Damien carried groceries upstairs. Mr. Wilson smiled. Never expected retirement to include this much excitement. You gave everyone quite a scare. Sorry about that, they laughed. The apartment remained simple. Old furniture, family photographs, books covering nearly every shelf. One photograph caught Damien's attention. A younger Mr. Wilson stood beside several co-workers inside a factory. Long career, 41 years. Same place, do you miss it? Sometimes, mostly the people. Damien looked around. You seem to have plenty of people now. Mr. Wilson smiled. That's because I spent 40 years trying to be someone worth visiting. The sentence stayed with Damien. Meanwhile, Elias reviewed safety reports from every company facility. Patterns emerged. Most incidents occurred in older buildings. Delayed maintenance. Outdated equipment. Budget reductions over several years. He called an emergency executive meeting. Every aging facility receives a complete safety inspection. One executive frowned. That'll cost millions. Workplace accidents cost more. Marcus watched quietly. Replace equipment where necessary. Increase safety training. Monthly audits. Another executive raised a concern. Shareholders won't like this. Elias answered calmly. Employees should make it home alive. The meeting ended. Not everyone agreed. No one challenged the decision directly. That evening, Marcus remained behind. Just the two of them, you know, Marcus said quietly. Old Damien would have approved temporary repairs. Probably. New Damien approved permanent ones. Safer, more expensive. Marcus nodded. Maybe. He looked toward the city skyline. Maybe I've spent too many years looking only at numbers. Elias didn't answer. Marcus continued. Don't misunderstand. Profit still matters, it does, but, he paused, dead employees don't build successful companies. Neither do frightened ones. For the first time since the swap, Marcus voluntarily agreed with a decision driven by compassion. Small, but meaningful. Damien called later that night. He told Elias about Mr. Wilson. Elias told Damien about the injured workers. After listening, Damien asked a question. Did you know all their names? No, I do now. Damien looked down at his rough hands. I used to know production numbers better than people. Elias smiled softly. I used to think wealthy people didn't carry real burdens. Guess we were both wrong. Yes, we were. The call ended. Outside, rain began falling again. Not a violent storm, just gentle rain against the windows. Neither man feared it anymore. Chapter 12. Everything falls apart. Winter arrived with relentless rain. Business slowed across the city. Construction projects paused. Temporary contracts disappeared. Small businesses struggled through another difficult season. The changes reached every corner of the city, including both borrowed lives. Damien had just finished stacking inventory when Greg called everyone together. The warehouse floor became unusually quiet. Greg looked uncomfortable. He held several sheets of paper. Orders have dropped. Nobody spoke. The company lost 2 major contracts last week. A heavy silence settled over the room. Management's reducing shifts. Some positions are being eliminated. Damien already knew what came next. Greg hated every word. Names were read one by one. Experienced workers, new workers, part-time workers, permanent workers. Finally, Elias Carter. Greg lowered the paper. I'm sorry. Damien nodded slowly. I understand. You don't deserve this. Doesn't matter. It's not your decision. Greg extended his hand. If work comes back, you'll be first person I call. Thank you. The handshake lasted only a moment. Then Damien collected his locker. 3 months of stability disappeared in less than 5 minutes. Outside, Greg caught up with him. One more thing. He handed Damien an envelope. Recommendation letter. Warehouse manager signed it this morning. Didn't know layoffs were coming. Damien accepted it carefully. Thank you. Greg smiled. You're good worker. Don't forget that because someone else couldn't afford to keep you. Those words mattered more than the paper. Across the city, Damien's company faced its own crisis. Sophia entered the office carrying 3 newspapers. Each displayed the same headline. Tech giant under investigation after whistleblower claims Marcus arrived moments later. We have a problem. What happened? Anonymous documents leaked overnight. Internal emails, budget reports, project timelines. Anything illegal? Marcus hesitated. No. Unethical. Some investors will say yes. The accusations spread rapidly across television and social media. Cost-cutting, aggressive acquisitions, pressure on suppliers. Most decisions had occurred before the body swap. Yet the public saw only one name, Damien Ashcroft. Emergency meetings filled the entire day. Lawyers, public relations, board members, investors, everyone wanted immediate action. One executive suggested denying everything. Another recommended blaming middle management. Marcus remained unusually quiet. Finally, everyone looked toward Elias. He spoke calmly. Release everything. The room froze. Everything, every document, every financial report, every internal review that's legally allowed. Transparency first. One lawyer objected immediately. That increases risk. So does hiding information. Marcus watched silently, then nodded once. Do it. The press conference took place the following morning. Cameras packed the room. Journalists filled every seat. One reporter stood first. Mr. Ashcroft, did your company knowingly pressure suppliers into accepting unfair contracts? Some agreements favored us too heavily. We're reviewing every one of them. Another reporter. Were employees encouraged to ignore ethical concerns? Not officially. Unofficially, he paused. Some company practices rewarded results without asking enough questions. That changes today. The room became silent. Nobody expected admissions. Another journalist asked, "Are you accepting responsibility?" Yes, even for decisions I personally regret. The answer spread across the country within hours. Meanwhile, Damien searched for work again. Interview after interview ended exactly as before. We'll contact you. He heard the sentence so often it almost lost meaning. His savings disappeared quickly. Rent arrived. He paid only part of it. Mrs. Ramirez accepted the envelope quietly. You're short. I know, we'll figure something out. She never sounded angry, only concerned. That somehow felt worse. A week later, the electricity bill arrived, then the phone bill. Then groceries became harder to afford. Damien sold several belongings. Old headphones, unused kitchen appliances, a spare jacket. None brought much money. Each sale bought another few days. Nothing more. One evening, he returned home carrying a single grocery bag. A notice rested against his apartment door. Final eviction warning. He stared at it. Read it twice. 3 times, the words never changed. Mrs. Ramirez approached quietly. I argued for more time. The owner refused. I'm sorry. Damien folded the notice carefully. How long? 2 weeks. He nodded. Thank you. She looked as though she wanted to say something else. Instead, she simply placed a hand on his shoulder before walking away. Across town, Elias faced another difficult meeting. The stock price had fallen sharply. Several investors demanded aggressive layoffs. Marcus closed the conference room door after everyone else left. They want immediate cuts. How many? Around 1,200 positions. No, Marcus expected that answer. Then what? Freeze executive bonuses, delay expansion, reduce non-essential spending. Marcus calculated silently. Not enough. It's close. close doesn't satisfy shareholders. Neither does destroying 1,200 families. Marcus looked exhausted. Sometimes there isn't a good answer. I know, the room remained quiet. Leadership meant choosing between painful options. Elias hated that lesson. Damien found temporary work unloading delivery trucks for 3 nights. The pay barely covered food, then the work ended. Again. The recommendation letter opened doors. Not enough. Employers still hired only when business demanded it. Character could earn opportunities. It could not create jobs that didn't exist. The eviction deadline arrived. Damien packed everything he owned into 2 bags, clothes, the notebook, several family photographs belonging to Elias, the recommendation letter, nothing else. Mrs. Ramirez helped carry 1 bag downstairs. "I'm so sorry. You've got nothing to apologize for." She looked close to tears. "You were finally getting ahead." Life had other plans. He handed her the apartment key. "Thank you for everything." She hugged him unexpectedly. "Take care of yourself," he nodded. "I'll try." That evening, Damien stood beneath a highway overpass with several other homeless men. Some slept on cardboard, others beneath worn blankets. One man offered him half a sandwich. "First night?" Damien nodded. "Gets colder after midnight. Take this." "I can't." "You can. I found food earlier." Another act of kindness. Another person with almost nothing choosing to share. Damien accepted. "Thank you." He sat quietly against the concrete pillar. Cars passed overhead. Thousands of people drove home, only a few meters away, yet they might as well have been another world. For the first time in his life, he had nowhere to go. Late that night, Elias called. Damien answered after several rings. "You sound tired. Long day. Everything all right?" A long silence followed. Then Damien finally answered. "I lost the apartment." Elias stopped breathing for a moment. "What?" "I'm homeless." Neither spoke. The weight of those words needed no explanation. Finally, Elias whispered, "I'm sorry." Damien looked across the dark shelter where strangers slept beside him. Months earlier, he would have believed every person there had failed. Now he knew better. Some had. Some hadn't. Many had simply reached the end of every available option. He leaned back against the cold concrete. "No," he answered quietly. "Now, I finally understand." Chapter 13, Truth Without Words. Damien barely slept. Every passing car echoed beneath the overpass. The concrete never became comfortable. The cold settled into his bones long before sunrise. Around him, people slowly woke. Blankets were folded, cardboard stacked, plastic bags gathered. No one complained. No one asked why life had turned out this way. They simply prepared for another day. A man in his 50s offered Damien a cup of instant coffee. "Morning. Thank you. First night's always the worst." "You can tell. Everyone can." The man smiled. "Name's Robert." Damien. Robert nodded. "Looking for work every day." "Good, don't stop." "Some do." A volunteer van arrived shortly afterward. Several people stepped out carrying insulated containers. Breakfast. One by one, everyone lined up. Nobody pushed. Nobody argued. Each person received oatmeal, fruit, and coffee. A young volunteer handed Damien his meal. "Have a good day." He almost laughed. She had no idea where he would spend it, yet she still smiled. After she left, Robert spoke quietly. "She comes every Tuesday. Never misses. Paid? Volunteer." "Why?" Robert shrugged. "Guess she decided someone should." Damien looked at the disappearing van. He had donated millions to charitable organizations over the years. He had never personally served breakfast. The realization stung. Meanwhile, Elias arrived early at headquarters. Sophia was already waiting. "Morning, morning." She handed him several folders: the apprenticeship proposal, the scholarship program, employee assistance fund. Elias looked surprised. "I don't remember requesting these." "You didn't." She smiled faintly. "You rejected similar proposals every year. I thought maybe you'd actually read them now." He opened the first folder. an apprenticeship program for young adults without formal experience. The projected cost was substantial. The projected return uncertain. He imagined Damien sitting across from him. Months ago, he would have dismissed it immediately. Now, he placed the folder on top of the stack. Schedule a meeting. Sophia looked genuinely surprised. All of them. For the first time in years, she left Damien's office smiling. Damien spent the day searching for work. He walked from business to business. Factories, restaurants, delivery companies, construction sites. Every answer sounded familiar. Nothing available. Try again next month. Applications only online will keep your resume. By late afternoon, his feet hurt. His stomach growled. He counted his remaining money, enough for one inexpensive meal. He entered a small diner, ordered soup, nothing else. As he reached for his wallet, the waitress smiled, already paid. Damien looked confused. By who? She nodded toward the corner. Robert, the homeless man from that morning, raised his hand. You needed it more. Damien carried the bowl to his table. Why? Robert shrugged. Someone bought mine yesterday. Figure I should keep it moving. Damien stared at the soup. A chain of kindness. Passing from one person to another, without contracts, without recognition, without expectation. That evening Noah found him. Mrs. Ramirez told me where to look. Damien stood. You shouldn't be here. Why not? Because... He stopped. No reason sounded convincing. Noah looked around the shelter, then back at Damien. Come stay with me. Your dorm won't allow it. Probably not. Then I'll sleep somewhere else. Absolutely not. Noah folded his arms. You've spent your whole life taking care of me. Let me help you once. Damien felt something tighten inside his chest. Pride. The same pride that had once defined his own life. He understood it now. Accepting help felt harder than giving it. Finally, he nodded. Just for a few days. That's all I needed to hear. Across the city, Elias attended another investor meeting. The atmosphere remained tense. One investor spoke bluntly. Your recent policies are costing money. Perhaps, no perhaps about it. Marcus remained silent. Another investor continued. Employee support, safety upgrades, training, scholarships. Where does it end? Elias answered calmly. When we stop treating people as expenses. Several executives shifted uncomfortably. The investor laughed. You're running charity. No, I'm trying to build a company people actually want to work for. The discussion ended without agreement. Afterward, Marcus walked beside him. You know they'll try replacing you. Eventually. Probably. You aren't worried? Of course I am. Marcus nodded slowly. Good. Only fools aren't afraid. That night, Damien and Elias met. Not by phone, in person, at the abandoned chapel. Months had passed since either had visited. The building looked unchanged. Broken windows, collapsed roof, empty altar, still no mirror. They sat on opposite pews. For several minutes neither spoke. Finally, Damien broke the silence. I judged people my entire life. Elias listened quietly. I thought effort explained everything. I was wrong. He looked down at his rough hands. Some people work harder before breakfast than I worked in an entire day. They're still poor. Not because they're lazy, because life is complicated. The admission echoed through the empty chapel. Elias remained silent, then spoke. I judged wealthy people too. Damien looked up. I thought money solved every problem. That successful people lived easy lives. He smiled sadly. I was wrong too. Every decision affects thousands. Every mistake becomes public. Every conversation makes someone want something. You're surrounded by people every day. Yet, he looked toward the empty doorway. You're alone. Neither man argued. Neither defended themselves. There was nothing left to defend. Damien spoke again. I used to believe respect came from success. Now I think respect comes from remembering people. Elias smiled. That's better. What about you? I used to dream about becoming rich. Do you still? Yes, but not for myself. For what I could do with it. The chapel fell silent once more. Outside, light rain tapped gently against the broken roof. No lightning, no miracle. Just two men speaking honestly for the first time. Before leaving, Damien turned toward Elias. "If we never switch back, take care of Noah." Elias immediately answered, "Only if you promise to take care of your company." Damien nodded. Agreed. They shook hands, not as enemies, not as strangers, as friends. Neither noticed the faint shimmer passing briefly across the cracked stone floor where the mirror had once stood. It disappeared before either looked down. Chapter 14. Letting go. The meeting inside the chapel stayed with both of them. Not because they had discovered a solution. Because, for the first time since the storm, neither wished the other had suffered instead. They simply understood. Damien moved into Noah's small dorm room. Officially, visitors were not allowed to stay overnight. Unofficially, Noah's roommate had gone home for the semester. The extra bed remained empty. It was enough. The room measured little more than a few square meters. 2 desks, 2 beds, 1 window overlooking the campus. Noah apologized constantly. "Sorry it's cramped, it's more than enough." "Sorry about Noah," Damien interrupted gently. "You already helped me. You don't need to apologize for being kind." Noah smiled. That sounded different. Different how? More like. He searched for the words. "Someone who understands." Damien looked out the window. "Maybe I finally do." The next morning, Damien woke before Noah. He quietly cleaned the room, washed dishes, prepared breakfast using the little food they had. When Noah woke, he looked surprised. "You didn't have to do that, I know." "Then why?" "Because someone opened their home to me." "Least I can do," Noah laughed. "You're impossible to argue with, so I've been told." Damien continued searching for work every day. One afternoon, Greg called. "Business is improving. Need people again." "Interested?" "Absolutely. Start Monday." The relief that spread through him was almost overwhelming. Not because the job paid well, because someone remembered him. Greg had kept his promise. Character had outlasted the layoffs. Across the city, Elias reviewed the final draft of the Employee Assistance Program. The proposal had grown much larger than expected. Emergency financial support, scholarships, mental health services, leadership training, apprenticeships for applicants without experience. Sophia entered quietly. "Ready? For what?" "Board approval." She placed the presentation on his desk. Marcus already convinced several members. He looked surprised. "Marcus?" "He said something interesting yesterday." "What?" "People invest in companies. Companies should invest in people." Elias smiled. "I never thought I'd hear him say that." "Neither did I." The board meeting lasted nearly 4 hours. Questions came from every direction: cost projections, risk analysis, shareholder expectations, legal obligations. Marcus answered many of them himself. Finally, one board member looked directly at Elias. "Why now? Why are these programs suddenly so important?" He answered honestly. "Because opportunity shouldn't belong only to people lucky enough to begin with it." Silence followed. No dramatic speeches, no applause, only quiet reflection. The vote passed, not unanimously, but comfortably. The programs would begin the following year. That evening, Marcus remained behind. "Remember when we started this company, of course, we had 12 employees, 1 office, 1 coffee machine that barely worked." Marcus smiled. "You knew everyone's name." Elias listened. "Then we grew, 50 employees, 500, 5,000, 12,000. Somewhere along the way," Marcus looked down, "we started managing numbers instead of people." He looked back up. "Maybe success distracted us." "Maybe." Marcus extended his hand. "Good decision today." Elias shook it. "Not my decision, ours." Marcus nodded. For the first time in many years, that felt true. Meanwhile, Damien returned to the warehouse. Coworkers welcomed him back. Linda smiled. "Told you we'd see you again." Greg handed him new work gloves. "Don't lose these." "I'll try." The work felt familiar now. Heavy, honest, predictable. During lunch, the new employee Damien had helped weeks earlier sat beside him, got promoted to forklift training. Congratulations. Couldn't have done it without your advice. Damien shook his head. You did the work. Maybe, but somebody pointed me in the right direction. The conversation reminded Damien of something, a single opportunity, a little guidance. Sometimes that was all someone needed. Several days later, Damien received another envelope. Not a bill, a tax refund. Small, unexpected. Enough to rent a modest room again. No luxury, just stability. He immediately thanked Noah. You don't have to leave, I know, but I want you to have your room back, Noah smiled. Promise we'll still have dinner every week. Promise. That weekend, Damien visited Mrs. Ramirez. She greeted him with a hug. He held up the apartment key. Looking for a tenant? She laughed. Already found one. Good, actually. She smiled. Apartment across the hall just became available. Smaller, cheaper. Interested? He looked around the familiar building. The neighbors, the hallway, Mr. Wilson watering flowers outside his door, children running through the courtyard, people greeting one another by name. Yes, very interested. Meanwhile, Elias found himself alone in the penthouse once again. He walked slowly through every room. Nothing had changed, yet everything felt different. The apartment no longer impressed him. It saddened him. Beautiful furniture, beautiful view, beautiful silence. He imagined Damien living there for years, returning every evening to empty rooms, eating alone, working until midnight, repeating the cycle. No wonder he'd forgotten how to see people. There had been almost nobody close enough to remind him. That night, the two men met once more. The chapel had become familiar, almost comforting. Still empty, still quiet, still holding its secrets. Damien smiled as Elias entered. Good news. Greg hired me again. Congratulations. You board approved the employee programs. Damien smiled. Looks like your company has a better future. Our company. Elias corrected himself immediately. Sorry, your company. Damien shook his head. Maybe not. Maybe companies never really belong to one person. Maybe they belong to everyone who builds them. Elias looked at him carefully. A few months ago, you would have laughed at that sentence. I know. They sat together in silence. Neither rushed to leave. Neither searched for the mirror anymore. Eventually, Elias spoke. Funny, what's funny? I don't think I want my old life back because yours is easier. Damien nodded. Same here, I want it back because... He smiled. It's mine, exactly. They both laughed, simple, honest. The kind of laughter shared only between friends. Outside, clouds slowly gathered over the city. Neither noticed. Chapter 15. The storm returns. The weather forecast predicted light rain. Instead, the city awoke beneath dark clouds that seemed strangely familiar. People hurried through their routines without paying much attention. Weather changed. Life continued. Only two men felt an uneasy sense of recognition. Damien noticed it first. He stood outside the warehouse, loading dock, watching distant lightning flash across the horizon. Greg walked beside him. Looks like another rough storm. Seems that way. Hope it waits until after shift. Me too. Damien kept watching the clouds. Something about them refused to leave his mind. Not fear, recognition. Across the city, Elias looked out from the executive floor. The skyline had disappeared behind sheets of rain. Sophia entered carrying another stack of reports. Looks like we'll be here late. Maybe. She noticed him staring outside. Storm bothering you? Not exactly. Feels. He stopped. Never mind. She smiled. Long week? Something like that. By evening, the rain intensified. Roads flooded, traffic slowed, public transportation reported delays. Phones buzzed across the city with weather alerts. Avoid unnecessary travel. Seek shelter if conditions worsen. Damien finished work just as the first lightning struck nearby. His phone vibrated. One message. Elias, meet at the chapel. Now, no explanation followed. None was needed. Damien immediately left. At almost the same moment, Elias closed his office door. Sophia looked up. "You're leaving? There's somewhere I need to be. In this weather?" "Yes." Marcus overheard the conversation. Whatever's so important? He looked toward the rain. "Hope it's worth it." Elias answered honestly. "I think it might be." The abandoned chapel looked exactly as it had months before. Rain poured through the damaged roof. Wind rattled broken windows. The old wooden doors swung open beneath powerful gusts. Damien arrived first. Seconds later, Elias entered from the opposite side. They smiled, almost instinctively. "You felt it too?" "Yes, no idea why." Neither moved farther inside. They simply stood where everything had begun. Thunder echoed overhead. Lightning flashed through the shattered, stained glass. The same strange silence settled over the building. No wind, no rain, no sound. Exactly as before. Damien looked toward the altar. The old white cloth still rested there. Except, it moved very slightly. Neither had touched it. The fabric slowly slid aside. Beneath it stood the bronze mirror. Exactly as it had appeared months earlier, untarnished, perfectly clean, as though it had never disappeared. Neither spoke, neither questioned it. Words no longer mattered. They walked forward together. They stopped before the mirror. This time their reflections remained normal. Damien looked like Elias. Elias looked like Damien. Two borrowed faces, two familiar strangers. Damien broke the silence. "If this doesn't work..." Elias nodded. "I know. Thank you. For what?" "For taking care of my company." Elias smiled. "Thank you for taking care of my family." They stood quietly. No anger, no resentment, only gratitude. Lightning illuminated the chapel. The mirror reflected brilliant white light. Damien slowly placed one hand against the bronze frame. Elias did the same. Neither hesitated, neither tried to force anything. Outside, lightning struck. The explosion of light swallowed the chapel. For a single heartbeat, the reflections changed. Each man saw his own face again. The mirror vibrated, the light became blinding. Then darkness. Morning sunlight entered through large glass windows. Damien opened his eyes. The ceiling, the bedroom, the penthouse. His heartbeat accelerated. Slowly he raised his hands. His watch. His arms. He hurried toward the bedroom mirror. Damien Ashcroft looked back. He touched his own face. The reflection matched perfectly. He laughed. A short, disbelieving laugh, then quietly sat on the edge of the bed. Home, across the city, another man opened his eyes. Tiny apartment, old refrigerator, cracked ceiling, morning sunlight. Elias immediately looked at his hands. Calluses, young hands, his hands. He smiled before even reaching the mirror. Still, he checked anyway. Elias Carter smiled back. Home, both men remained silent for several minutes. Neither celebrated wildly, neither questioned how. Some mysteries did not need answers. Both already understood why it had happened, not scientifically, personally. Later that morning, Damien entered headquarters. Employees greeted him as always. "Good morning, Mr. Ashcroft. Good morning." Sophia followed him into the elevator. "You seem..." She stopped, different again. Damien smiled. "Do I?" She looked carefully at him. "Yes, but..." "Not in a bad way." He nodded. "Good." At almost the same time, Elias walked into the warehouse. Greg looked up. "Welcome back. Never thought I'd miss this place so much." Greg laughed. "That's first. Work hard today." "Always." Linda waved from across the warehouse. "Morning, Elias. Morning." Everything felt wonderfully ordinary. Every familiar face carried new meaning. That evening, Damien stood alone inside his office. The city stretched endlessly beyond the windows. Months earlier, he had looked at that view with pride. Now, he looked at it with responsibility. He picked up the phone. Sophia answered immediately. "Yes, Mr. Ashcroft. Schedule a meeting tomorrow morning. Board? No. Human resources. Operations. Finance. Legal. Everyone. What's the topic?" Damien looked out across the city. "Opportunity." At nearly the same moment, Elias sat alone in his apartment. Someone knocked. "Mrs. Ramirez, rent?" Elias smiled. "Paid," she laughed. "Good answer." She looked at him for a moment. "You seem happier, I think." He looked around the tiny apartment. "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." She nodded. "Funny. I've always thought so too." The storm ended. The mirror disappeared forever. Neither man ever returned to the chapel looking for answers. They no longer needed them. The lesson had already been learned. Chapter 16, Home. But not the same. The city looked exactly as it had the day before. Traffic filled the streets. Subway trains ran on schedule. Coffee shops opened at dawn. People hurried to work. Nothing had changed, except two men. Damien arrived at headquarters before anyone else. He unlocked his office himself, something he had not done in years. Usually someone else arrived first. Usually someone else prepared everything. This morning he wanted silence. He walked slowly around the office. Bookshelves, awards, photographs from product launches, magazine covers, a framed article celebrating the company's first billion-dollar valuation. He stopped in front of it. Months ago it had filled him with pride. Now it felt incomplete, not meaningless. Simply incomplete. Success could build companies. It could not build character. He finally understood the difference. At 8 o'clock sharp, Sophia knocked. "Come in." She entered carrying coffee. "Your schedule's full. Cancel everything before 10. She blinked. "Everything, everything." She set the coffee on his desk. "You're making me nervous." Damien smiled. "Don't be. I'm about to make everyone's job harder." She frowned. "That doesn't sound reassuring. It'll make life better. Eventually." She stared at him, then quietly nodded. "I'll clear your schedule." Meanwhile, Elias returned to the warehouse. Everything felt strangely familiar. His body remembered the work immediately. Lift, turn, carry, stack. Months of experience remained. Greg noticed. "You got faster. Practice. Whatever you did over the weekend, keep doing it." Elias laughed. "I'll try." During lunch, Linda sat beside him. "You seem different too." "Really?" "Calmer. I feel calmer." She smiled. "Good, you deserve that." The conversation drifted toward ordinary things. Children, weather, bills, weekend plans. Elias enjoyed every minute. Normal conversations suddenly felt precious. At headquarters, executives filled the main conference room. Nobody knew why they had been summoned. Marcus sat beside Sophia. Human resources occupied one side of the table. Finance, another. Operations filled the remaining seats. Damien entered exactly on time. "Good morning." The room answered together. "Morning." He remained standing. "Today isn't about quarterly revenue." Several people exchanged confused looks. "It's about the future." A presentation appeared on the screen, not financial projections. Photographs, employees, factories, offices, warehouse workers, receptionists, maintenance staff, programmers, security guards, everyday people. Marcus noticed immediately. No charts, no graphs, just faces. Damien spoke quietly. "A company is often measured by market value. Revenue, growth, profit, those numbers matter, but they are outcomes, not foundations." He looked around the room. People build companies. If people fail, everything fails. Silence filled the conference room. No one interrupted. He outlined every initiative. Apprenticeships for applicants without experience. Scholarships for employees seeking education. Emergency financial assistance. Expanded mental health support. Leadership development from within the company. Affordable housing partnerships near major offices. Transportation assistance. Childcare support. Each proposal included financial projections, timelines, implementation plans. The preparation surprised everyone. He had thought through every detail. One executive finally raised a hand. "This is expensive." "Yes." "How long before shareholders see returns?" Damien answered immediately. "Years." The room grew quiet. Another executive asked, then why do it? Because long-term trust creates stronger companies than short-term fear. Marcus smiled almost invisibly. That answer sounded familiar. The discussion continued for nearly 3 hours. Some concerns were practical, others philosophical. Eventually, every proposal received approval, not unanimously, but overwhelmingly. The company would change, slowly, carefully, permanently. After the meeting, Marcus remained behind, just as he had many times before. Only now the atmosphere felt different. You planned all this while everyone thought you were fighting a public relations crisis. Yes, Marcus looked at the presentation still displayed on the screen. Where did this come from? Damien answered honestly. Perspective. Marcus laughed softly. Most expensive lesson you've ever learned. Without question. Worth it? Damien didn't hesitate. Every second. Across the city, Elias finished his shift. Greg approached. Need a favor? Sure. One of the new workers keeps struggling. Mind showing him around? Of course. The young employee looked nervous. First job? Yeah, terrified. Don't be. Everyone starts somewhere. Elias spent the next hour teaching him, not only the work, how to pace himself, how to avoid injury, where to buy affordable lunches nearby, how Greg preferred inventory organized. When they finished, the young man smiled. Thanks. Nobody else had time. Elias answered quietly. Someone made time for me once. Now it's my turn. That evening, Damien drove somewhere he had never visited before, the warehouse. He parked outside, waited until the shift ended. Workers slowly left the building. Greg recognized him first. Can I help you? Damien stepped forward. I'm looking for someone. Elias Carter. Greg pointed toward the exit. He's right there. Elias froze. Damien smiled. May we talk? Greg looked between them. Friends, something like that. Greg nodded. Take your time. The two men walked toward a nearby park. Neither spoke for several minutes. They didn't need to. Finally, Elias laughed. Feels strange seeing your actual face again. Same here. Damien looked at him carefully. Thank you for everything. You already thanked me, not enough. You protected my company. You protected people I forgot to see. Elias smiled. You protected my family. Noah still thinks you've become the world's most patient brother. Damien laughed. He's probably disappointed now. I doubt it. They sat on a park bench overlooking a small lake. Children played nearby. Parents watched from benches. Dogs chased tennis balls across the grass. Ordinary life. Damien found himself smiling. I used to think changing the world meant building something enormous. And now I think. He watched a father teaching his daughter to ride a bicycle. Maybe it starts by changing one person's life. Elias nodded. That's usually enough to start everything else. Neither realized how prophetic those words would become. Chapter 17. A different kind of success, the company's announcement made headlines within days. Not because profits had increased. Not because a new product had launched. Because Damien Ashcroft had changed the direction of one of the country's largest technology companies. Some newspapers praised the decision. Others questioned it. Financial analysts debated whether compassion belonged in corporate strategy. Television commentators called it risky, idealistic, naive, visionary. Everyone had an opinion. Damien listened to almost none of them. He had spent too many years living for the approval of people who never knew him. That chapter of his life had ended. Implementation began immediately. Human resources expanded. Training departments doubled in size. Partnerships formed with community colleges. Scholarship applications opened. Managers attended leadership workshops focused on mentoring instead of intimidation. Every change required planning. Budgets shifted. Construction projects started. Policies were rewritten. Nothing happened overnight. Exactly as Damien expected. Real change required patience. Sophia entered his office carrying another report. Applications? Already? She nodded. Thousands. Damien opened the folder. Young adults, career changers, single parents, former military personnel, people who had never received an opportunity before. One application caught his attention. Previous experience, none. Education, incomplete. Reason for applying, nobody has ever given me a chance. Damien quietly closed the folder. He remembered standing in employment offices, recommendation letter in hand, waiting, hoping, knowing he could work, unable to prove it. He signed the approval for the first apprenticeship group. Every one of them deserved an interview. Across the city, Elias returned to ordinary routines. Warehouse, bus, groceries, rent, dinner with Noah every Wednesday. Life remained modest. He found himself smiling more often, not because life had become easier, because he no longer measured it against anyone else's. One evening Noah asked, "You ever regret not chasing more money?" Elias thought carefully. "No, really. I regret not having enough sometimes." "That's different." Noah frowned. "How? Wanting stability isn't same as wanting wealth. Money's useful. It's just not purpose." Noah nodded slowly. "Makes sense." Weeks became months. Damien visited different company locations almost every Friday. Factories, warehouses, regional offices, customer service centers. He stopped scheduling ceremonial tours. Instead, he arrived quietly. He ate in employee cafeterias, spoke with maintenance workers, asked receptionists how their week had gone. Sometimes he solved problems. Sometimes he only listened. Both mattered. One afternoon, he visited the warehouse where he had once worked. Greg almost dropped the clipboard he was holding. "Mr. Ashcroft, good afternoon. What brings you here? Inspection?" "No, memory." Greg laughed. "That's new." They walked through the building together. The storage layout Damien had suggested months earlier remained in use. Efficiency had improved noticeably. Greg pointed toward it proudly. "Best operational change we've made in years." Damien smiled. "Looks good." Greg had no idea why the compliment meant so much. During lunch, Damien sat beside ordinary warehouse employees. Linda recognized him from television. "You're that CEO?" "I am." She looked embarrassed. "Sorry, didn't realize. You don't need to apologize." She laughed. "You look familiar, though. Have we met?" Damien smiled faintly. "I don't think so." He couldn't tell her the truth. Instead, he simply thanked her. For what? For reminding someone that sharing half a sandwich can matter more than you realize. Linda looked confused. "You're welcome, I think." Greg watched the exchange from across the room. Strangest CEO I've ever seen. That evening, Damien found Elias waiting outside the warehouse. Perfect timing. Finished early. "Good. Want dinner?" "Always." They walked to the same inexpensive diner Elias had visited countless times. The waitress recognized him immediately. "Usual, please." She looked toward Damien. "And for you?" "Same." Damien smiled. Months earlier, he would have chosen the most expensive restaurant in the city without thinking. Now this felt perfect. Halfway through dinner, Damien asked, "How many jobs did you apply for before getting hired here?" Elias laughed. "Lost count." "Hundreds." Damien quietly stirred his soup. No one should have to prove themselves hundreds of times before someone believes in them. "No, but many do." Damien nodded. "Not anymore." "What do you mean?" "The apprenticeship program starts next month." "People without experience?" "Exactly. Paid training, mentorship, career path." Elias smiled. "Someone's going to get first chance because of you, because of us." Elias looked confused. "Us? I couldn't have built it without living your life." The compliment carried more weight than any award Damien had ever received. A week later, the first apprenticeship class arrived. Nearly 100 young adults gathered inside the company's training center. Some wore borrowed clothes. Others held folders tightly against their chest. Many looked terrified. Damien stepped onto the stage. No cameras, no media, only applicants. He spoke simply. Most companies hire people because of what they've already done. We're hiring you because of what we believe you can become. Several people began crying quietly. He understood why. Someone had finally believed in them before they had proof. After the presentation, Sophia approached. That speech wasn't in the script. I know, better this way. She smiled. Definitely. She hesitated. You know, employees talk. About what? They say you're happiest when you're visiting people instead of investors. Damien looked toward the apprentices filling the hallway. They're probably right. Late that evening, Damien stood alone in the empty training center. Rows of chairs, projectors switched off, applications stacked neatly on tables. He remembered sleeping beneath a highway overpass. He remembered Robert buying him soup, Linda sharing a sandwich, Greg giving him a chance, Mrs. Ramirez delaying rent, Noah opening his home. People who changed his life without ever knowing who he really was. He quietly made himself a promise. No one who sincerely wanted to work would ever be invisible to him again. Chapter 18, an opportunity. The apprenticeship program exceeded every expectation. Applications continued arriving long after enrollment closed. Managers reported stronger employee retention. Experienced workers volunteered as mentors. Departments that had once struggled to recruit talent now had waiting lists. The financial impact remained modest. The human impact was impossible to measure. Damien considered that the more important number. 3 months later, Sophia entered his office carrying a familiar folder. You asked me to investigate someone. Damien looked up immediately. Elias? She nodded. Everything we could legally find. Employment history, education, references, community volunteer work, warehouse performance reviews. She placed the folder on his desk. Every employer says nearly the same thing. Reliable, honest, hardworking, always helps others, never complains. Damien smiled. That sounds right. Sophia hesitated. May I ask why? Because I'm about to make him an offer. Later that afternoon, Damien drove to the warehouse again. Greg greeted him with a grin. Back already? Seems I can't stay away. Looking for Elias? Yes. Break room. Damien found him eating lunch with Linda and several co-workers. Conversation stopped when he entered. Elias stood. Everything all right? Perfectly. Mind taking a walk, of course. They crossed the street to a small park. The same bench where they had first met after returning to their own bodies remained empty. Damien sat first. I need your help. Elias smiled. Depends. Can it be done after work? Damien laughed. Probably not. Then tell me. Damien took a folded document from his briefcase. I want you to come work with me. Elias immediately shook his head. No, you haven't even heard. I know what you're offering. Then why no? Because I don't want charity. Damien expected that answer. Good, neither would I. He handed over the document. Read it. Elias opened the folder. Not an employment contract, not a gift, a business proposal. Director of Community Development. Authority to oversee apprenticeship programs, scholarships, employee assistance initiatives, community partnerships, direct access to executive leadership, competitive salary, profit sharing, performance incentives, most importantly, operational independence. Elias looked up. This isn't charity. No, it's work, real work. Damien leaned forward. You understand people better than anyone I've ever met. I understand business. Separately, we're useful together. He smiled. We might actually build something worthwhile. Elias remained silent. He continued reading every page. Detailed responsibilities, budget authority, hiring power, long-term planning. Everything looked carefully prepared. You've been planning this. Since the day we switched back. Why wait? Because I wanted you to choose, not feel obligated. Elias looked toward the playground nearby. Children laughed while chasing one another. Parents watched from benches. Ordinary life. He remembered the dream he had carried for years, not becoming wealthy, creating enough stability to help others. Damien's proposal offered exactly that. Yet one question remained. Why me? Damien answered without hesitation, because when you had almost nothing, you still spent your life improving other people's lives. Imagine what you'll do with resources. Elias looked down at the contract again, then quietly closed it. I have one condition, anything reasonable. No special treatment. If I make mistakes, correct me. If I'm wrong, tell me. I don't want people respecting me because I'm your friend. Damien smiled. Agreed, I have one condition too. What's that? Stop calling me Mr. Ashcroft. Elias laughed. That one might take longer. The warehouse reacted with mixed emotions. Greg listened quietly after Elias explained everything. You're leaving, looks that way. Greg extended his hand. Proud of you. Couldn't have happened to better person. Linda hugged him. Don't forget us when you're rich. Elias laughed. I don't think that's possible. She smiled. Good answer. The younger employee Elias had mentored looked disappointed. Who's going to teach me now? Elias placed a hand on his shoulder. You are. The young man looked confused. Find someone new. Teach them what I taught you. Then ask them to do same. Keep it going. The young worker nodded slowly. I can do that, I know. On Elias's first day at headquarters, nearly everyone assumed he was another executive hire. Expensive suit, security badge, private office. Sophia greeted him warmly. Welcome. Thank you. She walked him through the building. Most employees don't know your story. That's all right. Do you want them to eventually? Not because of what happened, because it'll help explain why we're doing this. Sophia smiled. You'll fit in here. Weeks passed quickly. Elias visited schools, community centers, job fairs, shelters, trade programs. He listened far more than he spoke. Every conversation revealed another barrier. Transportation, childcare, interview clothing, internet access, simple obstacles, life-changing consequences. He returned with ideas. Damien approved nearly all of them, not because they were friends, because they were practical. One afternoon, Marcus joined them. I've been watching both of you. Should we be worried? Marcus laughed. Not yet. He looked toward Elias. You know, when Damien first hired you, I thought emotion had finally replaced common sense. Elias smiled. And now? Marcus shrugged. Turns out compassion can be good business. Who would have guessed? The three laughed together. A year earlier, the conversation would have been impossible. Late that evening, Damien and Elias stood on the rooftop terrace. The city stretched endlessly below. Busy, imperfect, alive. Damien looked across the skyline. Do you ever think about the mirror? Sometimes. Wish you knew what it was? Not really. Why? Because explanation wouldn't change lesson. Damien nodded. True, some things are valuable precisely because they can't be repeated. Elias looked toward the lights below. Think we'll ever tell anyone? No, who'd believe us? Probably no one. They laughed quietly. The secret belonged only to them, and always would. Chapter 19. One chance the partnership attracted attention long before it attracted praise. Industry analysts questioned Damien's decisions. Why create departments that generated little direct profit? Why invest in people who might leave? Why spend money on applicants with no experience? Competitors watched with skepticism. Some predicted failure. Others waited quietly. Damien ignored every prediction. Results would speak louder than opinions. The first apprenticeship class graduated 11 months later. 9 to 3 participants had begun the program. 8 to 9 completed it. 8 to 2 accepted full-time positions inside the company. The remaining 7 found work elsewhere. Damien considered every graduate a success. Opportunity had never been meant to create dependency. It had been meant to create independence. The graduation ceremony took place inside the company's largest auditorium. Families filled nearly every seat. Parents, brothers, sisters, children. Some had traveled across the country. Many had never visited a corporate headquarters before. Damien stood backstage. Nervous. Elias noticed. Big speech? No. Big responsibility? Different. Elias smiled. You'll be fine. The ceremony began without unnecessary spectacle. Each graduate crossed the stage individually. Each received a certificate. Each shook hands with both Damien and Elias. Some smiled confidently. Others fought back tears. One young woman paused before leaving the stage. May I say something? Damien nodded. She turned toward the audience. 1 year ago, no company would even interview me. Not because I couldn't learn, because nobody gave me first chance. She looked toward Damien and Elias. You did. Now my daughter thinks engineers wear names like mine. The auditorium erupted into applause. Damien quietly looked away for a moment. He remembered standing outside employment offices, invisible, no longer. Months passed. The company expanded carefully, not faster, better. Internal promotions increased dramatically. Employee turnover declined. Workplace injuries continued falling. Productivity improved. Customer satisfaction reached record levels. Unexpectedly, profits also increased. Not immediately. Gradually. The financial press called it surprising. Damien did not. People worked harder when they believed someone cared whether they succeeded. Elias rarely stayed inside headquarters. Most weeks he spent more time outside the building than within it. He visited vocational schools, youth centers, shelters, community organizations. He listened to stories, collected ideas, found talented people who had simply been overlooked. One afternoon, he met a 17-year-old repairing bicycles behind a community center. No formal education, no certifications. Yet the teenager had rebuilt an electric motor using discarded parts. Elias watched quietly. Who taught you? Nobody. Internet videos. Trial and error. Would you like to study engineering? Can't afford it. Maybe you don't have to. 6 months later, the teenager entered the apprenticeship program. 3 years later, he became one of the company's youngest engineering specialists. Stories like that multiplied. A single mother completed cybersecurity training while using company childcare. A former factory worker became a software tester. A refugee who spoke little English became a network technician after language support and technical training. None became wealthy overnight. That had never been the goal. They gained something more durable, a future. One evening, Marcus entered Damien's office carrying an old newspaper. Remember this? Damien looked at the headline. Tech giant under investigation after whistleblower claims. I remember. Marcus placed another newspaper beside it. New apprenticeship model reshapes corporate hiring. He smiled. Funny how quickly headlines change. Damien shook his head. Headlines don't matter. Lives do, Marcus laughed. I was afraid you'd say something like that. Sophia knocked before entering. Sorry to interrupt. There's someone asking to see you. Appointment? No, should I reschedule? Who is it? She smiled. You should probably see for yourself. Outside reception stood Robert, the homeless man who had shared coffee, bought him soup, offered encouragement beneath the overpass. He looked healthier, cleaner, still wearing simple clothes. Damien immediately recognized him. Robert. Robert smiled. Didn't think you'd remember. I'll never forget. They shook hands warmly. How have you been? Better, actually. Much better. Robert handed over a company identification card. Facilities maintenance. Started 3 months ago. Damien stared at the card. You work here? Thanks to one of those hiring programs. He smiled. Turns out somebody thought experience wasn't everything. Damien felt his throat tighten. Robert continued. Didn't know you worked here until receptionist mentioned your name. Small world. Damien quietly laughed. Smaller than you think. They shared coffee in the employee cafeteria. Robert looked around. Good place. Good people trying to be. Robert smiled. Remember what I told you? Which part? People don't see poverty until they live it. Damien nodded. I remember every word. Robert looked thoughtfully at him. Something tells me. You do. Neither asked further questions. Some understanding required no explanation. That evening, Damien found Elias in the rooftop garden. Guess who visited today? Who? Robert, the soup, the coffee, the overpass. Elias smiled immediately. How's he doing? Works here now. Really, really. They stood quietly, watching employees leave for the evening. Hundreds of people, each carrying different worries, different dreams, different lives. Damien spoke softly. Funny, I used to think changing thousands of lives required enormous sacrifices. And, sometimes, it starts with hiring one person everyone else overlooked. Elias nodded. That's how most good stories begin. One chance, one person, then another. Chapter 20, the greatest investment 5 years passed. The city continued changing. New buildings rose, old neighborhoods evolved. Businesses opened, others disappeared. Life never stopped moving. Neither did Damien and Elias. The apprenticeship program expanded beyond a single company. Other businesses requested advice. Universities formed partnerships. Trade schools adapted their curriculum. Government agencies studied the results. Some companies copied individual programs. Others adopted the entire model. Damien welcomed every imitation. Opportunity was never meant to be exclusive. The company itself looked very different. Nearly half of its management team had begun through internal promotions. Employee turnover had become one of the lowest in the industry. Applications arrived faster than positions became available, not because salaries were the highest, because people believed they would be treated with dignity. That reputation became more valuable than any advertising campaign. Marcus announced his retirement shortly after his 65th birthday. The farewell gathering filled the company auditorium. He stood at the podium looking less like a ruthless businessman and more like a proud teacher. When I met Damien, he began, I believed success belonged only to people strong enough to take it. He smiled toward Damien. Turns out I was wrong. The audience laughed softly. Marcus continued. Success also belongs to people wise enough to share it. He stepped away from the podium to sustained applause. Later, he quietly approached Damien. Never thought I'd retire from company like this. Any regrets? Marcus looked around at the employees laughing together. Only one. Which one? Wish I'd learned lessons sooner. Sophia became Chief Operating Officer. Many people believed she had always been destined for the role. Only Damien knew how often she had quietly carried the company through difficult years. On the morning of her promotion, she entered Damien's office with a familiar expression. You wanted to see me. Congratulations. For what? He handed her the official documents. She read them twice, then looked back at him. Coup, if you'll accept. She laughed. I spent years trying not to disappoint you. Damien smiled. You never did. She became unexpectedly emotional. You know, she paused. Working for you used to be frightening. I know. Now it's meaningful. Thank you. He shook his head. No, thank you. Elias continued leading community development. The department no longer fit inside a single office. It had grown into dozens of programs across multiple cities. Scholarships, small business grants, housing partnerships, technical education, mentorship, emergency assistance. Every initiative operated with the same philosophy. Don't solve someone's life for them. Help them build it themselves. One afternoon, a young apprentice knocked on Elias's office door. Do you have a minute? Always. The young man sat down nervously. I wanted to thank you. For what? For believing I could do this. Elias smiled. I didn't. The apprentice looked confused. I believed you could learn. You proved everything else yourself. The young man left smiling. The words stayed with him for years. Just as Greg's words had once stayed with Damien. That autumn, Noah graduated from university. Engineering. Exactly as he had dreamed. The family celebration took place in a small restaurant. Mrs. Ramirez attended. Greg came. Linda brought her children. Mr. Wilson arrived with his cane, healthier than ever. Robert joined as well, so did Sophia. Marcus, several apprentices, friends from different parts of life, people who never would have met without one impossible storm. No one realized it, except two men. After dinner, the group moved to a nearby park. Children played beneath the setting sun. Laughter drifted across the grass. Mrs. Ramirez watched Noah speaking with Damien. Funny, what's funny? She smiled at Elias. Those two act like brothers. Elias laughed quietly. In some ways, they are. As evening settled, Damien and Elias walked away from the group for a few minutes. They stopped beside a small lake. The same lake where they had first spoken after returning to their own bodies. The water remained perfectly still. "Do you ever miss it?" Damien asked. "The swap, sometimes. Not because I'd want it again. Because it reminded me every day that life can change without asking permission." Damien nodded. True. A gentle breeze crossed the lake. For a brief moment, the surface reflected light in a way that reminded them both of polished bronze. Then it disappeared. Neither mentioned it. Some memories were better left untouched. Damien broke the silence. "When I was younger, I thought greatest investment I'd ever make would be company, or technology, or market." Elias smiled. "Changed your mind?" "Completely." He looked toward the people gathered across the park. Noah laughing with Greg. Sophia talking with Mrs. Ramirez. Marcus listening to Mr. Wilson's stories. Robert teaching Linda's children how to skip stones across the lake. Lives connected in ways none of them understood. Damien spoke quietly. "Greatest investment I ever made was learning another person's life." Elias looked toward his friend. "Expensive lesson. Very worth it." Damien smiled. Every second. The sun slowly disappeared beyond the skyline. The city lights awakened one by one. Life continued, as it always would. Somewhere a young graduate received their first opportunity. Somewhere a struggling parent found unexpected support. Somewhere a company decided to invest in people instead of only numbers. Neither Damien nor Elias could change every life. They had never tried. Changing every life had always been impossible. Changing one life at a time, that was enough. Because every person who received a chance eventually had the power to give someone else one. The chain never truly ended. It simply continued, quietly, patiently, one act of kindness at a time. The abandoned chapel remained standing on the edge of the city for several more years before it was finally demolished. Workers found nothing unusual inside. No mirror, no hidden chamber, no explanation. Only cracked stone, weathered wood, broken stained glass. Whatever had happened there had left no physical trace. Only two men carried proof that it had ever existed. Neither ever spoke publicly about the impossible months they had shared. They didn't need to. Their lives told the story better than words ever could. And somewhere, beyond reason or understanding, perhaps that had always been the purpose. Not to exchange two bodies, but to exchange two perspectives. Because empathy cannot be inherited. It cannot be purchased. It cannot be taught through speeches, books, or wealth alone. Sometimes, it must be lived. The end.